Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Spitballing. I'm Matt Taylor here with my good buddy,
Kyle Elmonson.
And today we are going to reach out to a friend of ours who has recently passed, Michael Starry. Are you there, Michael? Can you hear us? Michael, are you there? Can you hear us?
Well, of course I can hear you. I'm on the other side of the door.
Michael,
It's working.
it's working. He can hear us. Michael Starry in the flesh. I thought you were dead, brah.
Tried to be.
How are you doing, brother?
Fair.
Now that
Partly
I'm yelling
cloudy.
at you?
I know. Screaming in my ear.
Get that? Just about.
Woke me
about
from the dead.
fist length from
Screaming in
the-
my ear.
So, last week, Kyle and I had a kind of a little, kind of a fun episode. We got a little down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, just kind of we just kind of libtard out and,
Shocking.
did our thing.
Somebody on Facebook said that we needed to get a different point of view on there because it was just two liberals like stroking each other, and I was like, well,
It's like a fish concert.
to be fair, like one of the working titles was two libtards. I mean, that was one that we were going to go for. But
I like
we
truth in
decided not to.
advertising. That's
Yeah.
good.
But it was a pretty fun episode. But we got into the issue of the Second Amendment sanctuary, that issue that's coming up in Crow Wing County, and honestly, I'm super confused by the issue. I already thought that we had a Second Amendment.
So are our lawmakers.
Well, and now, am I correct in like basically this is a just kind of a gesture?
Sort of.
It doesn't really have any, I mean...
Yeah, there's no legal teeth to it in as much as it's not going to stop the sheriff from coming to my house necessarily. What the resolution does is prevents county taxpayer dollars from being used to enforce unconstitutional laws. So your tax dollars won't be used to send the sheriff and his deputies to your house to take your stuff. They won't be used to fund any further gun control. So all legislation, all laws that are active now would still be in effect. But anything in the future that's deemed unconstitutional, the county wouldn't have to allocate resources, funding, physical bodies, or any of that on the county dime. Doesn't stop the police from the city, doesn't stop the state police, but it prevents your county tax dollars from being used to infringe on your rights.
Okay, but who dictates whether a law is unconstitutional? Doesn't the Supreme Court?
No, well, you'd think that, wouldn't you? Yeah, ultimately, the Supreme Court would have to rule on it, which is why part of the resolution is a legal challenge. It allows you, if they force you to try to do this, the county then has the will to go, hey, we can fight back on this legally. We've already warned you that if you try to force us to enforce these laws, we will fight back with any means necessary. County resources could obviously be allocated for that, or my own dollars, because it's a worthwhile fight simply based on the due process side of it. Red flags are scary. That's a bad thing. They're kicking in your door to take your stuff. You didn't know about it.
No, I have not. After last week, I was like, okay, I need to read that. Well, guess what? I haven't read it yet.
Consistency is key.
But
Jesus.
and I told you, I messaged you. I wasn't going to show up with any information or having read anything. But yeah, I'm on hiatus from that shit. But
Hiatus from learning? I like it.
Absolutely. Actually, we talked about that. How I don't learn anything anymore. No one can make me learn shit.
Good.
But where was I going with that?
I don't know.
Bitch. Oh yeah,
I said
so
due
haven't read anything.
process, and you got all Libby, and
You know, I like that stuff. Turns me on. So I now apparently, like, I've heard people say that, and I believe that they believe that it works this way, but I'm not sure it does. That you can just like okay, I know it doesn't work like this, but people are under the assumption that someone can make a phone call. You know, they'll just
Right.
call in and say, hey, so-and-so like is dangerous, blah, 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 blah. And they've got a bunch of guns. And then the police will come over and fucking, you know, like, and
It's not
It
much
doesn't
more
work like
complicated than
that.
that. It's actually not much more complicated than that.
Okay, how would it work? Explain to me what.
and
Explain to me.
is the anonymous phone call thing real?
Sort of. So under the Minnesota statute that the House has proposed, and well, actually the House passed, immediate family members, outside family members, certain other people, guardians, grandparents, people affiliated closely with you can then go to the sheriff or they can go to the courts and say, you know, this guy's kind of nuttier than a squirrel turd. He threatened to harm himself or he threatened to harm others. The process is designed then that they're supposed to present that evidence to the police or the courts. The court then will rule on that. You make a sworn testimony to them. Yes, I have this evidence. This guy told me he was going to kill me, or he told me he was going to kill himself, or he threatened severe bodily harm.
That doesn't sound much like an anonymous call and the cops going over.
It is in as much as the person making the call never needs to be divulged to the person having the red flag served on them.
But they have to provide evidence.
They have to provide verbal evidence, a preponderance of evidence, which is the lowest possible threshold per the courts.
Just a little closer.
Usually you have a burden of proof. Now you have a preponderance of evidence, which is literally, I'm pretty damn sure they were going to hurt themselves. Well, do they have a background of hurting themselves or others? Well, you know, 92 he got in trouble for assault. You know, and in 98 he did try to like cut his hand open or something. So, whoa.
Which is unfair because we all got in trouble in 92
right.
for assault.
So you've now established a history of violence or a history of mental illness. And the preponderance of evidence is, yes, I saw him make a threat or I saw him acting agitated and scared. They present that to the police or the courts, and then they're kind of walked away. They've sworn their statement, and they're good to go. Then the judge goes, okay, well, let's establish this real quick. Yep. Looks like there is a preponderance of evidence. We do have a little paper trail from the back, and great. Here's your order. And then the police can come and serve it. Then Minnesota's law says there's a hearing up to 14 days later. It can be ex parte, so if they served you with a red flag, you wouldn't necessarily get to know about it until up to 12 hours beforehand. So 12 hours before the hearing, the police could show up at your house or send you a letter that says, hey, there's a red flag against you. Want to come to the hearing tomorrow? Did you get your papers? I don't know. As long as they've served you within 12 hours before they show up at your house, it's considered an active red flag order, and the judge has ruled on it, and voila, they're coming to take your stuff.
So if they clean that up a little bit, would you be in favor of it?
I wouldn't solely because it's due process. At no other law in this country are you allowed to come and take your stuff without you facing your accuser, going to a judge, seeing everything happen. Fourth Amendment is really pretty clear on the due process side of this, and that's gone in the red flag thing, which is a horrible idea. And secondarily, they're ineffective. They just don't work. Connecticut imposed them 10 years, a little over 10 years ago now. Their suicide and firearms-related homicide rate has gone up.
No.
But you were supposed to stop it with your red flags.
And it wouldn't have gone up because of the red flag law.
Wouldn't have gone up,
But it's not.
because of it.
But what you're saying is the red flag law is not affecting the suicide
Exactly.
or homicide rate.
Right. UC Davis did a study in California. They waited 10 years after universal background checks and red flag laws. The UC Davis came out with their study that showed there was no discernible effect in either direction. So firearms-related homicides didn't go down. Firearm-related homicides and suicides didn't go down. They didn't necessarily go up based on population, kind of the levels that you would expect. Hey, if we have 50,000 more people, we're going to have a little bit more violence, of course, because that's the laws of nature. There is no clear-cut change whatsoever. So now you've taken people's personal property. That was a cool sound.
I know.
Personal property has been taken without them getting a chance to face their accuser and present their own evidence. And that's where red flags in Minnesota are really bad. So they come now and they say, we're going to take this stuff. We have our little ex parte hearing. We've done our thing. We've got a preponderance of evidence. Awesome. You have the right to appeal.
Right.
6 months later.
Okay, so they can take your stuff for 6 months.
Yes. Wow. So automatically in Minnesota, it's a minimum of 6 months. up to, I think it's 2 years. It's somewhere in my documentation. It might only be 1 year, but automatically it's a minimum time of 6 months. Then you can appeal. The thing with the appeal is now it's a burden of proof.
So
It is
now
not a
you have the
preponderance of
burden
evidence.
of proof to convince the court that you're not a nut job.
Exactly. That 6 months previous, I wasn't acting crazy enough to deem you able to take my personal property.
A lot can happen in 6 months.
And then what?
Right.
What happens?
Therapy.
What would happen to the property? Like they would come and they take your, and this is just strictly with firearms.
It's every firearm in your house, which is another issue with this too. So say there's a lot of collectors. They have Revolutionary War weaponry. They have Civil War weapons. Anything that looks, acts, or seems like a firearm is now confiscated. There are no safe storage laws in effect. So your police department, your sheriff comes and takes your stuff and they bring it in and they throw it in a box.
And they take the you were just about to head off to the Antique Roadshow with that pistol that your great grandfather said may or may not have been used in the at the.
On the upside, we won't see any more of these rampages with muzzleloaders.
They're terrible. Yeah.
Fuck.
So, but seriously, you end up with collector's items that are now just thrown into a bin. People that know firearms kind of know that, man, you got to keep them clean. They got to be dry. You can't have a lot of humidity. They're going to rust. They're going to get crap. A fingerprint will create rust.
And despite what we see in the, in movies and television all the time, like if somebody goes and buys a handgun or something like that, like you're not like I don't know how many times you've like just thrown your pistol on the ground.
That's the beauty. I'm going to chuck it over here.
No, that's not what we do.
No,
those things are expensive.
You obviously put it under your pillow.
Right. Under the mattress. It's a little lumpy under the pillow.
That's what I always think that one's funny. Like, your gun under your pillow.
Yep.
It's like,
So yeah, but Minnesota has
Must
no
be a nice
safe
pillow.
no safe storage laws, and then in the bill, they have no legal recourse for you. So it specifically states in their red flag confiscations that you can't come after the police later if you've managed to jump through the millions of hoops. You've paid the tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees to prove beyond a reasonable doubt you have burden of proof to say that I wasn't acting crazy that day, 6 months ago, a year ago, however long it takes. Give me my guns back. You go through all the appeals. They say, great, get your guns back. And they bring them back to you and they're all damaged. They're wrecked. Their stock's broken. They're rusty. They don't fire anymore. They're missing pieces. Sorry. It specifically states in the law there's no legal recourse for you if the police or the investigators damage your property. So again, you've got that Revolutionary War piece that doesn't even fire. But it was a collector's item. It was worth $500,000. Sorry about that. Sucks to be you, broken tools.
So let's go back to the actual like.
No, I want to be liberal. We're going forward. I'm not regressive.
Let's go back. No, okay. So somebody points the finger at me and says, "Hey, Matt's a whack job. They're gonna come take my guns." The cops give me a letter, or do I have to be served? Like, do they have to like put it in my hand, or is it like literally they're gonna send it to me?
They can just send it to the last known address.
So I'm lucky enough that I get the letter. Then I go. Do I have the right to go? I have the right to go defend myself.
You do. You can go to the very initial hearing.
Okay.
And you have to, again, still have burden of proof. So you have to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're not acting this way.
So the person who is saying I'm a whack job has only to provide the preponderance of evidence. Which is a lesser threshold than the burden of proof. I, on the other hand, have to not just refute that preponderance of evidence. I have to prove that I'm not a whack. That's a hard thing to kind of prove.
Yeah, exactly. You're ultimately proving or disproving a negative.
Right.
How do I do that? So again, you're left with a bigger burden, because how am I going to prove that I am not in an emotionally agitated state that would mean I'm going to harm you or someone else?
Plus,
I'm going to need a clinical psychosis diagnosis.
I just found out that one of my family members or friends or whatever thinks I'm a fucking whack job.
You might not be in the best state of mind at that moment.
I might be able to appeal.
Yeah. And then when you go to that hearing, you don't get to face your accuser. You get to face the court. The person that has filed the initial complaint, it's all on paper. They've got their documentations. It's all good to go. They don't actually have to be there. So now you're standing in front of just
So you don't even necessarily know who your accuser is.
Exactly. And then when you look at it on a red flag side where they're talking, this is going to stop domestic assaults, that sort of thing. If somebody's beating on their spouse, they're having an issue, the cops come, they take their stuff. One, you've left the guy there, and he's pissed because you just took his stuff. If he knows that he's got a history of domestic assault, and even asshats that beat on women kind of know that they're asshats who beat on women, they're going to suspect, well, it was probably Mabel that called the police on me.
Right.
So now they're angry, and all you've done is taken their guns, which is, how is this effective?
Which typically are not used in domestic assault.
Exactly.
Not that they're never. I mean, there are people that,
Right.
like do the homicide, suicide homicide.
You get your fucking coronavirus on me.
You're welcome.
Bringing shit back from the dead.
I was around probiotics all day.
When Mike came in today, he was like digging through his backpack, and right there, and I saw he had a mask, and I was like,
nice.
Oh, motherfucker got the coronavirus. But
so go back to this, though. So now Minnesota does already have existing legislation. By law in the state of Minnesota, police are obligated to take you for a 72-hour either criminal hold or psychological hold currently.
Yep.
Which is fantastic. So now if you're in an agitated stop, if a cop shows up to your house, they've been called and they say, hey, this guy's acting wonky, police come in and go, whoa, he really is acting unstable. He does pose a danger to himself or another. They actually are required by Minnesota law to take you into psychiatric care for 72 hours.
You know what kind of shit you have to be doing for them to actually bother with the fucking paperwork to take you in?
And part of that is a bed shortage. We don't have mental health funding to afford beds. We've shut down state hospitals.
Yes.
We don't have Medicare for all.
Right. But when you think about it in comparison,
our biggest problem.
That's our biggest problem. You look at it in comparison, the current law takes the dangerous person out of the situation. The proposed law leaves the dangerous person in the dangerous situation, just takes a tool. So now if you're suicidal, most suicides in this state are not firearms related. They are overdoses, they're pills, they're carbon monoxide. Firearms only account for 100 of the 402 suicides we had last year.
Really?
So great. You're going to maybe stop 100, but they've already proven that it doesn't actually lower the overall suicide rates because people use alternate means. So if you're truly suicidal and you're like, I'm going to use this 357, and they come and go, no, you're not. You go, okay, well, I'll just use this knife.
Which is a solid argument in crimes of passion.
Yeah. Yep.
But when we talk about school shootings and stuff like that, I find that argument to be fucking stupid. Because
you're saying the argument that people say, if there's no guns, they're just
gonna use something else. Okay, if you're fucking mad enough about somebody, if you're mad enough at your neighbor, and you don't have a gun on you, well, yeah, you're gonna beat your fucking neighbor to death with a shovel. But I say that it's understandable.
And really,
but I mean, we've all had neighbors. They're fucking infuriating. Run, but and shovels. But when it comes to school shootings, when people say that, I'm like, I gloss over. I get fucking Forrest Whitaker on and shit like that.
The only issue with the school shooting thing that's weird is that only about 4% of the school shootings that have happened since 1991 have been people that really they had no idea about. Every one of them had multiple previous interactions,
run-ins with the law,
and every one of those
issues.
You look at the Parkland shooting. I don't give shooters names because shooters are dinks, but the Parkland shooter had seen the police 31 times.
Yeah,
federal authorities had been contacted 3 times, and we didn't act on it. Similar to what we're at now. We're crying for a red flag law when we have laws that will take the bad person out, and we're just not acting on
we don't do
those.
Shit with.
We continue to do this under this, no offense, guys, but the liberal mantra of I have to do something. And I get it. It's emotional. If you've been shot, you've been stabbed, you've been the victim of gun violence because you knew a guy once whose sister's brother's dog's former owner committed suicide, it's an emotional thing, and you want people to do something. And we have this mentality right now that we want legislators to do something for us all the time, which is a whole other political trip that I can go on because I don't believe that's their job. But if you always want somebody to do something, they're always going to do something. You've told
Right.
them the only tool they have is a hammer, then by God, they're going to beat you with this hammer for the rest of their lives. We have existing legislation that would take the bad person out, but we
So-
won't fund it or do it.
So back to that Parkland shooter. That person had many run-ins with police. So you're not in favor of, like, the police taking that guy's guns and or I mean, what should have happened in that situation?
Well, he had proven threats. I mean, this is a kid that had actually made actual threats. I have this gun and I'm going to shoot. Well, Jesus, I don't need anything more than that. A police department should look at that and go, wow, the 26th time we had to go deal with this dude, he outright was saying, look, I've got an AR, I'm going to shoot people with it. Well, fuck, go take him. Take him, take his
but
guns.
don't just take his guns.
Yeah.
Yeah. The guy needs to be arrested.
Exactly. You need to do something actually legitimate. Take this kid, take his guns, because that kid probably at that stage in life, especially when we were stupid when we were young. I'm still stupid now and I'm old, but even at 17, they're going to take you in.
It's kind of actually amazing that the three of us could be sitting at one table.
This episode is 30 years in the making.
No doubt. Yeah, a 17-year-old kid in an emotional state that he was in, going to go into some treatment. They might put him into a juvenile system.
Oh, that's right. He was underage,
Yeah.
and it was his father's.
Yeah, exactly.
Gun, right?
So he's going to go do some treatment stuff. Look, man, I went to treatment. I went to juvenile detention centers. I went to every tough love facility. What it did was make me angrier, tougher, bigger, faster, stronger. That kid, there's a good likelihood that he'd be the same way. But you've taken him and you've tried that, and you've taken his gun. So now he comes out and he's pissed.
Well,
he
actually,
hasn't really
though,
learned a lesson.
you're taking his father's guns.
Which at this point, if his father,
Which
also
is any
knows,
NRA member will tell you.
Is what?
No, I'm just making fun of it because they'll argue any fucking,
right? And I'm in favor of that because you've got a father and you've got a grandmother in his case as well that knew he had psychological issues. They were the ones that had called the police on him multiple times themselves.
And the father was still had accessible guns.
Exactly. He left things in a situation.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not for gun lockups because that's a tough deal, but
that's a couple of feet of rubber hose in 15 minutes, and I think I got that problem solved.
Exactly. So, they want safe storage laws, which I'm vehemently opposed to.
Okay,
because if
I
you
want to
kick
talk about them.
If you kick my door in, what am I going to do? The big tough guy comes in and kicks the door in, and my wife's home alone. She's going to go, I'm sorry, angry criminal. I just got to get to the gun safe real quick. And then after I get my gun, I got to go to the ammo storage safe and get my ammunition. Just stay there. Don't rape me or kill me yet.
Is that
actually
what it is?
It's actually a potential proposal. California has it now. Connecticut has it now. Florida
So
has some
your gun
safe
has to be
laws.
stored
in a locked case
separate from the ammo. Oh, that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can't.
It's going to make
Which
it tough to
is-
defend yourself.
I mean, it doesn't bother me in the car,
Right.
Zipper case separate from the ammo. Cool. No problem.
Well,
it's my own bad that I can't fucking, anyway.
Unless you have a permit to carry.
Yeah.
Right.
And now is that so if you have a permit to carry, then can you actually? So we're talking about a law that doesn't even exist yet.
Yeah.
But if
It's another one of and I know there's a lot of guys that'll go, the slippery slope doesn't exist, and I get it.
well,
blah, blah, blah,
I want to talk about the slippery slope because I have issues with it
For sure.
But okay, but I don't want to jump around too much. But that's what we do here in footballing.
That's what we've done for 30 plus years.
But that was the red flag
Red
part
flag.
of that law.
Yep.
Now the other part of that was the background checks.
Universal background checks.
And closing the loophole from gun transfers. Right. Now I don't understand why that is a bad thing.
Well, first off, we already do background checks. You bought guns.
If you buy a gun from a dealer, you could do a background check.
Right. Minnesota law and federal law says that even if you're buying from a private party, if you're selling a gun and I walk up and you're like, I don't know, dude seems a little shady, you can go, I just need a background check. And you can walk into the police department and have the background check done.
Right. But what if
it's actually viable right now?
Yeah, but what if I don't want to do that?
Then,
what if I just want to sell some crack at a gun?
That's on you.
I have one for sale. It's
Attention all crackheads. Yeah, so the thing with the universal background check, though, is how does it work? How is it an enforceable law? Because right now, Minnesota, the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension says 89.9% of all firearms used in Hennepin County in gun-related crimes, this last year were purchased either through a straw buyer, which is a legal purchaser who then just gives it illegally to somebody, or they were stolen. So now you're down to what? 10.9% of all guns that were purchased black market. Well, is the criminal, who's already intending to be a criminal, probably already is a criminal, has designs on doing criminal stuff with his criminally acquired gun, is this law going to make him go, before I rob that bank, before I conduct this drug deal on the corner, I'm going to have to get that gun legally.
Right. No, I get that. That
Do you?
That I do. I'm pretty sure I get the idea that criminals are definitely still going to get guns
Right.
illegally. That they aren't going just because it's. But wouldn't having the loophole like closed up, wouldn't that make it a little bit more difficult for criminals to do it?
California, again, the UC Davis study showed that with universal background checks, it had zero effect on gun-related homicides or suicides.
So if that's the case, that's the case. Then also, what's the difference if you're a person who is a responsible gun owner and is going to and wants to buy a gun? What's the matter about getting a background check?
Well, part of the thing with the universal background checks is it's not just for sales.
Okay.
Minnesota's law is transfers.
Yeah, or it isn't right now, is it? Or
Well, it will be if it passes the
this
Senate.
thing. Right.
So it cleared the House. The bill is all firearms transfers.
Okay. What is a firearms transfer?
If you and I known each other for 30 plus years and you said, hey, I've got this really cool 9, and I said, hey, I'd really like that 9, you would have to do a background check on me. You would have to do a background check on your cousin that you've known your entire life. And you know beyond a shadow of a doubt, he's never committed a crime. He's never beat his wife. He's never done anything wrong. He's straight-laced.
Now, am I fucking this cousin?
He might be.
Okay.
Well, we're not in Arkansas.
Again,
so
an RA member.
Hey, yeah, well, they might be. But you would have to have the background check done. Okay, I'm law-abiding. Let's do the background check. Cousin Bill that I've known my entire lifetime to never have had a problem. We go get the background check done. It costs us whatever the county charges.
Yeah,
because
what is
they
it?
get to determine.
What's it cost?
They don't know.
Well, okay.
It can be set by.
$30?
It could be $300. I think they put a cap at $100.
Okay.
So you want to do that. Wonderful. Seems great. Let's go do that. You and your cousin, you get your transfer because he's going to use your gun for a few days. And then in a few days, he's going to bring it back to you because he was going to go hunting or he was going to do whatever he was going to do with it.
What's he going to hunt with a 9?
Come on. Squirrels, flying squirrels, fun targets. But at the end of that...
Is he going to shoot at them like this too?
Did
always
he
sideways,
ganked them? He's going to gank some squirrels?
So if a transfer lasts longer than 12 hours, if you've loaned a gun to somebody, after 12 hours, they have to have the background check done on you. So you gave them the gun. You've already cleared a background check
That's stupid.
to get the gun. Then you had to do a background check on cousin Chuck so he could use the gun. And then 13 hours later, he has to have a background check done on you so you can get the gun back because you have made a transfer under state law.
Okay, that's dumb. It's
a really
They can't
convoluted
clean that
thing.
up?
And that's the cleaned up version. Last year's version didn't have the exclusions of dad loaning his kid a gun. Last year's attempt was literally any transfer whatsoever. So if I was going to take my son hunting and I loaned him a gun to use for the weekend on my property, I would have to have a background check. And then under the universal background check now is no handguns and no military style assault rifles for anybody under 21.
I feel like you don't like that term.
No, because it's
reason.
a made up term.
Well, it's because George Washington, was a big fan of 30-round magazines and shit like that.
You look at the Puckle gun and the pepper box revolver. Pepper box revolver had 20 rounds, could shoot them in under a minute. It was invented in 1781.
Really?
Was that the one you can throw all kinds of shit in?
You could throw anything in most of those, which is pretty badass. You could throw some nuts and bolts and some screws and washers and,
crazy.
somebody else's hair. There was about 6 of them. There was the Girandini air rifle, which could fire off about 15, 20 rounds in under a minute.
That's the
sweet.
one that Lewis and Clark
Yeah.
brought across the country. And but it took like 5 hours
Yeah, oh, yeah.
to like pump up.
Yeah.
But once you pumped it up,
was crazy.
It was crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, it was a 1,000 times better than
Yep.
than it also.
Well,
they
and
were
you
like
hear
ridiculously
that
expensive.
that
but-
sort of mentality. The founders didn't believe.
And wasn't it like a 40 caliber too? I mean,
Yeah,
it was like a huge caliber
crazy.
pellet gun.
Yeah, big balls. I mean, just stupid.
Yeah.
Not that you guys. I wasn't trying to put you down or anything. Big balls and nothing.
Oh, I got triple.
Right, old man balls.
I got sucked.
I'm not even sure how many I have at this
Right.
point. At this
Haven't
stage of the
seen 'em
game.
in so long.
So I was at Jits the other day and I got kneed in the balls, and it didn't even faze me, And the guy was staring like, he goes, "Oh man, I'm sorry." I'm like, "Ah, it's okay. I got jujitsu balls." And he goes, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Oh, they just like shrivel up and suck inside my body.
Yep.
Like I don't even need a cup. They're
gone
just
in
gone.
hiding.
Like
They've gone in hiding."
Yeah, they've been trained. They know to get the fuck out of town.
Yep.
I've been kicked in the balls really hard in a fist fight before, and it didn't slow me down a bit. Now the next morning, I needed help like getting out of bed.
Yeah, I'm not kidding though.
But,
Like my balls go away when I'm rolling. They like kind of suck up inside my body. I know it's a little weird, but like
That's a pretty normal thing for like. Well, I mean, like part of your like, part of your response and shit. Like
right. Defense.
yeah,
Yeah. Right.
zoop,
Makes sense. Yeah,
unless
biologically.
Right. So like, yeah, and because when you're doing jujitsu, you're like, you're doing it. So your body's gonna suck some. Anyway, okay, enough about my balls.
and the and the reason that your balls are useless for hitting people with in a fight. Like
Right.
even at our age.
After my circumcision for a while, I think I could have used them as like some kind of throwing weapon. But, so I just wanted to throw this out there. I think this is true, but it doesn't matter because it's spitballing. Right. Do you remember? Wasn't it during the Revolutionary War that Benjamin Franklin like proposed a new like weapon, and like was like put out all of its different things, and that it could fire like 12 rounds a minute. It had a range of 100 yards, and anyway, it was a longbow, and like he like literally wanted the troops, the American troops, to like use English style longbows, and was touting all the proponents of it, and of course it didn't get anywhere. But it was pretty amazing that at the time how much.
It's because he contacted the Welsh, and they were like, "Go fuck yourselves."
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Okay, they won't train us.
Well, the neat thing with Franklin, I mean, he was 80. When we were writing the Constitution, he was an 80-year-old man, which was remarkable given the era.
Right.
That he lived to be 80. I do
with
think,
syphilis, I mean,
Right?
it's just crazy.
And
I mean, everybody.
I think a lot of the founders at
Everybody
that time
should
were
have.
like, it's old Ben.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got some good ideas and he's done some great things and he's a wonderful statement, but he's been napping for the last 6 hours of this meeting. So you go, oh, he woke up. What have you got, Ben?
And he's like bow and arrow. But it's really interesting that, like, how effective the bow was compared to the weapons of the day. And then the Comanche, we're talking about that a while ago, how the Comanche like really, they were militarily, superior, supreme for 40 years. And it was because of their bowmanship.
Yep.
With those guys and the Mongols, I have trouble believing some of the
Claims?
yeah
about
the horse archery.
You're
stuff.
wrong.
Because you were there.
Thanks for stopping in.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
I want to
that
like.
it seems
No, I've seen
incredible.
the guy do it
Yeah.
on YouTube and shit like that.
that's all you need.
No, like they make more outlandish claims than than what that guy's
That you
demonstrated.
can shoot. They could shoot.
Obviously, I believe what that guy's demonstrated because I mean, seeing is believing. But
What do you have a hard time believing?
oh, I don't remember right now. I just like
Good argument, Kyle.
Hey, fuck you! It's spitballing. What the fuck are you talking about?
Just throwing shit
What are you
out
new? No, but I mean, I have heard
First
shit.
time.
I have like read shit that I'm like, I don't know.
There might have been some stuff. One of the things that I thought about the Mongols is something about that their bows were like 130-pound pull, and I was like, which it seems a little extreme, and
especially
also,
for 115-pound man.
and the way that they
Riding
would
horseback.
be able to shoot like so repeatedly. So maybe the bows weren't 130
Yeah, I
pounds,
can't
but
imagine.
and I think what
Pretty
they
badass
were
if
saying
they
is that they were
Right.
well, these guys were fucking badass. I think kind of what they were saying is that's the max that you could make a composite bow out of bone, and the way that they
would
did
make
it.
sense.
But anyway, boy, we were going astray.
Shocking.
Okay,
That was bound to
so-
happen. I'm surprised it hasn't really happened in a major way at this juncture.
I know,
Yeah.
but I do want to try to like actually unpack this issue because so many people like were
For sure.
interested in it and were like fired up about it.
And we've talked about gun control a lot, a lot of like gun control issues, gun issues and stuff. Being gun guys. And one of the things, like one of the reasons you're a gem for us to have on here is because I've stated repeatedly that a lot of these arguments are made by people that,
Our cousin fuckers.
Yeah, whose mother and father are brother and sister. And like they make stupid fucking arguments. And I'm
Right.
like, you're not doing your cause, and especially as a gun guy, I'm like, you're probably doing more harm than good when you say such stupid shit, so you should let somebody smarter talk and you sit the fuck down, which at some point somebody's going to say to me. But I'm already sitting.
I think that's what a lot of people did say to us after the last episode. And maybe we were speaking out of school. So like I've had my permit to carry for a very, very long time. I wanted to make one point about the 72-hour hold.
Yeah.
Back when I had the Eclectic Cafe, early days going through the divorce, somebody called and knowing I had a permit to carry, believed that I was in a state where I was going to hurt myself or somebody else. I kind of knew this might be coming, and the day before that,
Because of the brandishing and threatening?
there was a bit
Those
of that.
fuckers.
Can't believe there's a false accusation.
I'm not gonna incriminate myself.
What the fuck do you mean? I'll put a cap in your ass if you call the cops on me again.
A 72-hour hold? I probably need to be held for 72 hours.
The day before this incident, I actually went to a buddy of mine, Tharg, and like I gave him my gun, and I love Tharg, but I said, I want you to hold on this for me for a little while, and this was exactly what he did. Opened his drawer, put it in, closed it, locked it, said, okay. There was no
There could have been a body on that motherfucker.
there could have been a body on that motherfucker. No questions
One of
asked.
the many reasons we love Tharg.
Okay was his only
That wouldn't be
response.
allowed under the universal background checks law.
So now,
Say no more, fam.
So now, under that case, I would have had Eric have a background check.
Exactly.
And
The
and
only-
then I would have he would have had to done one on me.
Exactly. If he,
Even if I had my permit to carry though,
Yes.
because because right now like having a permit to carry is like a permit to purchase. I don't need to have a background check.
right,
if I go
except
into-
if you walk into a gun dealer, they still have to do the 4473 form and do the federal background check.
even when you had the permit
Yes.
to carry.
Yes.
I thought that was like your permit to purchase, your universal.
Even the permit to purchase, you still, if you're buying from a federally licensed
Oh, you know.
firearms dealer, they still have to do the 4473.
Now that I think of it, when I bought
a firearm
gun.
that we knew of.
when I bought Peyton.
Oops, lost it.
At the time he was 15. I bought him a Colt 22 pistol.
Nice.
Of course, now this is my gun. Like legally, it's my gun and it's in my possession and so on and so forth. And he's not even 18 yet. But
Caveat.
but I had to. Well, I don't want him coming for me, motherfucker. These laws are scary. Yeah, if I think about it right, when I went in to do it at when I bought it from the pawn shop, I showed my permit to carry, and then I guess I did have to fill out some paperwork.
And then
it
that raises that whole, why in God's name do I have to go get a permit to purchase if in order to purchase I still have to get the background check done?
Why do you need a permit to purchase?
Because we had to do something. Because legislators here decided we had to do something no matter what. So they made you get a permit to purchase and a permit to carry. Counteracts each other a little bit because a permit to carry gives you 5 years of a permit to purchase, but you still buying a licensed gun from a licensed firearms dealer need to go through a background check.
Now, is that the same way when you buy a rifle?
Yeah.
Like, I bought a shotgun at Fleet Farm a while ago, and I don't remember having to do that. Maybe I did.
Yep.
Last time I bought a shotgun at Fleet Farm was just a couple of years ago. I had to do I had to fucking do the waiting period and do my background check thing. No, Christine went to buy me a handgun as a present like a year ago.
She's going to prison.
Well, she like walked in there thinking she could just, because I'd brought her with me looking at guns before and shit.
Check it out.
Yeah. So she comes in there and she's like, I think he likes that one. And she's like, okay, I'll take it. Boop. And they're like, oh,
Sweetheart.
honey, no.
This is not how that works.
You were so close.
Right?
Like, even saying you're buying a gun for somebody else.
Yeah, they can actually deny you right on the spot.
Yeah. Yep.
Straw purchase.
Yep. Yeah, actually, when I have a Glock 40 and love it. It's a great gun, easy. You can throw it in the water, pick it up and shoot it. But it was I don't want to say a gift because that's not the right word legally. But Brock Larson got it for me as a gift for some of the stuff that I'd done for him, but I had to go with him to Element Arms.
Some of the stuff he's done.
Yeah.
When I think about the whole...
the list goes on and on. But I had to go to Element Arms with him. I
yeah.
had to get the background check done. I had to do it. There was actually I don't know exactly how it worked out, but yeah.
The background check after 12-hour thing, like that's like it's times like this that I wish that we had like the time and the resources to make little skits and shit. Because all I can think about, is
we should do
like
it.
how like fucking, yes, and then you have to go in and turn in, you have to go in and get that background check done when there's two people at the desk, because when you turn that in, they have to do background checks on each other.
Right.
Otherwise the ATF will come and get you. But when they come and get you, their team will have to do background checks on each other before you can hand the weapon over to them. Just fucking,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me your gun. I'm sorry, I'm gonna need to go back. That
That is going to be my fallback on a red flag, though. If somebody comes to my house to serve a red flag, I'm sorry, but Minnesota state law requires
Rules
a
is
background
rules.
check. Yep.
So we were talking about the 72-hour hold. I gave my gun to Eric. The next day, lo and behold, a couple of sheriff's deputies grabbed me while I was on the street and were like, I had a good talking to. They took my permit to carry because that was pre. What was the name of that politician?
That was may issue, not shall issue.
Right.
So,
that was when you had to go to like the sheriff and at the time.
It was their discretion.
They could decide whether or not, and it was Frank Ball, who's a fucking douchebag, and we later got into it. This was before he didn't like me, but I had to go there and meet with him, and he'd be like,
"Can you blame him? You just called him a douchebag."
No.
I liked Frank.
I didn't call him a douchebag. He's a douchebag.
He just is.
Yeah, no, it's just it's a descriptor. It's a descriptor. It's like it's a truth, a fact
Fair
is
enough.
what it's called.
Fair enough.
So, so I had to go meet with Douchey McDoucheton, and he was asking me all these questions, like, well, why do you think you need a permit to carry? And I was like, well, I own a restaurant, and I'm like close at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, and I bring my deposits to the bank, and that seems pretty reasonable. And he's asking, well, it's really none of his fucking business, And then when
I'll make a libertarian out of you. Yet.
What's this? I've always believed this stuff. It's just a matter of degree. And then, what's the name of the politician, bald guy who was used to be the WWE guy? Just can't come. Jesse Ventura.
Oh yeah.
And then when Jesse Ventura came in, he actually enacted that law. What's it called?
It's called shall issue.
Shall issue, where basically as long as you take the class, you pass the background check and you pay the fee, the state of Minnesota can't deny you. And the reason, and I thought Jesse Ventura, with all of his faults, had some really great.
He was great with taxpayer dollars. That guy nailed it, man.
Well,
give us our money back.
And he was great in Predator too.
He was.
It was all right.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus.
But that law like made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then actually I never did get my permit to carry again until years and years later. Like, because it just wasn't worth going back to ball after they took it away from me.
Right. So under a red
And
flag
you know what
law, they
taking
would
it
have
away
just
from
taken
me
your
was?
guns.
Taking it away from me was like,
Yeah.
and they took it away, like out of my pocket.
Yep.
There was no do anything.
Exactly.
There was, and at the time, I was going through a weird time. It wasn't exactly, I was going through the divorce and everything. I was like, it's probably better that I don't fucking carry a gun around on me all the time. But, like, that wasn't right.
Right.
That wasn't, I should have been able to, like, but the only way for me to get my permit back would have been to go back to Frank Ball, who, by this time,
had heard that I knew he was a douchebag.
yes.
And what gonna happen?
So the road behind the mall there. So, so Frank's daughter and I used to be friends with his daughter, and wonderful girl, beautiful lady. And we're on our way to a movie, and she's hauling ass down this road. I mean, she must have gone like on that road, 50 or 60 is probably unreasonable. Yeah. And we get pulled over, and she's like, "Shit," And I'm like, "Oh fuck, what?" And she's like, no, don't worry about it." And the cop comes up to the window and asks for her driver's license and registration. And she's like, "Yeah," hands it over. Doesn't say anything. Doesn't pull the whole, "Hey, blah, blah, blah." None of that bullshit. She just hands it over. He takes 2 fucking steps, turns around and says, "There you go. Tell your dad I said hi." And I'm like, "Baby, let's go knock over a fucking liquor store. Are you kidding me? What the fuck?" Like, yeah.
Is who you know.
Yeah,
God,
fucking for sure.
So I don't want to get too deep into the balls, but
You don't want to get balls deep.
Did you guys know each other before this?
Before what?
Just kidding. So
Nice to meet you.
when I
we also dated back then.
when I was
I didn't get him out of speeding tickets though.
not out of anything except my clothes. Yeah.
when I was getting divorced, I was at court, doing the actual divorce decree with Wendy, and I hadn't seen her for 4 or 5 months or whatever, and we're sitting there in the courtroom, and she goes, "Matt," I'm like, "What?" And she goes, "Why is that cop glaring at you?" And I look over, and it's Frank Ball, and he's just giving me the fucking stink eye, right? And I go, wave at him, but yeah.
That's
But
awesome.
what did he dislike you for?
It was in the early days of the Eclectic Cafe, and the fucking cops came and made me scrub the sidewalk, and I went to war with them. I went to war with the Brainerd PD for a while, and fucking started bringing video cameras into the city council chambers and recording city councils, and then me and Sam Gibbons would edit them, and then I would do commentary on them.
Which is awesome.
I like it.
I wish you still had those around. Those
I have some of those tapes.
Man,
They're on VHS, but I will do that.
convert them to digital, and I think that would make great YouTube channel fodder.
It would be good.
Check it out.
Yeah, I made some real Lyman Doll. I made some really bad fun of Lyman Doll, and it was was at this time doing it for quite a while, and one day he came up to me after the council meeting, and do you remember Lyman?
Yeah, oh yeah.
He was big,
Yeah.
kind of mean, gruff, whatever. Well, we did not see eye to eye.
I heard he was also very tough. I mean, I heard he could scrap.
Well, I don't know, but he comes up to me after one of these meetings, and he goes, "Hey, can I talk to you?" I was like, "Fuck, yeah." And he goes, "Keep it up," and then walks away. I was like, "What the fuck?" He was a fan. He liked what I was doing. Keep it up. Yeah.
Hey, if you have,
I was in there swinging. I was in there, I wasn't
and
pulling
having a
down.
fucking sense of humor about yourself, kind of separates the fucking douchebags from fucking cool people. You know?
Agreed.
The only thing I feel bad about that time period is I made a lot of fun of Jim Dean, and I didn't realize he had a cleft palate. I used to make fun of the way he talked, and I didn't know. And then later, somebody pointed it out to me. It was like, dude, he's like, I think it's just funny, but you got to stop making fun of Dean. And I'm like, making fun of Dean? Why would I do that? And he goes, dude, it's not funny. He's got a cleft palate. And I'm like, I am a fucking asshole. Oh my God,
Right.
I feel
You
so
find
bad.
shit like that out. Man.
I just thought he had a mouthful of shit.
Fair enough.
Nothing like stepping on your dick like that, then just feeling like a fucking asshole.
Yeah, I did.
That's why I cut all my heartstrings. I never have those feelings anymore.
Yeah, well, that's solid.
Tough to tug on my heartstrings now, isn't it?
Fooled you.
Well, let's take a quick little break, and when we get back, I want to switch gears and talk a little bit about our current political situation.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right, we'll be back in just a minute. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Spitballing. I'm Matt Taylor. My good buddy Kyle Amundsen had to step out for a minute, but I'm here with my other good buddy Mike Starry. How you doing, Mike?
Fair. Partly cloudy.
Good. Oh, good. Here the big lug is. Shut that door, bitch.
It's drafty.
It was so long ago that we had that conversation.
Where the hell did you go?
Sorry, guys. I had to step out for a minute to participate in the process. I had to vote. But please, if you guys don't mind, I'd like you to respect my privacy and not ask me who I voted for.
Fair enough.
Because I like to keep that stuff to myself. And, I don't think there's any way anyone could, figure out who I did indeed vote for.
Right. Yeah. I'm Trump, right? Pretty sure.
Okay, where were we?
Well, I did want to talk a little bit about our current political situation. I am positive we're like a little like we differ on the spectrum.
Probably.
Where are you at? And you don't need to tell me what you vote for, but you can. But where are you at?
I'm a constitutional absolutist, which means I've never once voted for anybody that won.
Oh, fuck yeah. Okay.
Ever in my life. I have never voted for a winning candidate. I take that back. Jesse Ventura.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I did vote for Jesse Ventura, and he won.
I
which
did
was
too.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah. Otherwise, I don't win. If I am very staunch on. Look, here's the Bill of Rights. This is what my founders intended. This is the way it should be, and I'm a firm believer that if we lived in that mentality, we wouldn't be left with choosing shit sandwiches based on the left side has shit on the top and the right side has the shit on the bottom, and we think we're getting a different damn sandwich. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like eating shit. So I don't vote for shit. The lesser of two evils is always going to still be evil, so I'm always screwed. I don't get to pick winners.
That reminds me, I need to get one of those goddamn Cthulhu shirts. Like, why vote for the lesser of two evils?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've would you say that you've recently taken up bucking authority?
It's a new thing for me. I've always gone with that straight-laced approach.
You're just a cog in the wheel before. What the shit happened to you?
Yeah.
So,
Turned over a new leaf.
So when I said on the break, I've been reading your lengthy Facebook posts and
My diatribes.
yeah, your diatribes. And first of all, I was like kind of shocked that. I mean, I've known you for a really long time. I didn't realize you're that smart.
I've hit it well.
Yeah.
It can't just be a pretty face.
And also like how incredibly deep you've gone down this rabbit hole. And my initial thought was like, Jesus, like what does it matter if our little local community like passes this kind of a resolution? Like how is that going to change? And then somebody posted something on Facebook, and I ended up putting it on the Spitball page, and it was essentially about how political change actually is made. Did you get to watch that? It's
I
that
did
chick.
not.
It's pretty cool, actually. But it's
I did watch some of that.
Yeah, it's this chick, and she's just talking about like how the political change moves. And I thought it was pretty interesting because basically what the point of the little video was that any real movement that's ever been done, gay marriage, or what was the other example that they used that I thought was interesting? But anyway, they all happen when little local areas make these changes, and then when enough local areas institute those changes, then the big change happens. And
That
that's kind
think
of what happened
globally, act locally thing.
or change things locally.
Well, that's a constitutional principle. That's why we have 50 states instead of 50 countries here. So
Right.
the concept initially was 13 laboratories of best practices.
Right.
Now we have 50.
Right.
Organically, it all going to start locally. It might start here, work its way to the state level, and then organically the other states go, shit, look what Colorado's done with that legal weed thing. It seems to be working out all right for them. And
Right.
and it organically spreads versus the left-right paradigm of, I've decided my way is the best. So you need to vote for my idiot so my idiot can appoint a bunch of idiots to this court, and you can vote for all the other idiots that wear the same stupid team jersey. Get us all in there, and then we can shove the laws down your throat that we think are best for you. I would much rather work organically and let it be a laboratory of best practice. Let me prove if it works. Find out if this actually works, and does it hold water? And then others go, damn, that holds water. That's working out well. Look at how happy that group of people is for whatever it is they've worked on, and it works its way out, and we go, hey, look, we made a change. It's better, happy.
So I think the legalization of marijuana is an issue that's probably going to work out that way, just like it kind of did with the gay marriage thing. Enough states said, we're going to, allow, gay marriage, and then all of a sudden, bam,
Which,
it
by the
happened
way,
at a
the
federal
gay
level.
marriage thing pisses me off.
Which part?
The fact that
You don't like gay people?
No, the fact that we thought that government had to fucking allow it.
Right. Actually,
First off, government shouldn't be in my weddings. It shouldn't be in my marriage. It damn sure shouldn't be sleeping with me. It shouldn't
Right.
be involved in it. And now we have to ask permission to get married. And then we go, well, we got to allow gay marriage. What do you mean we had to fucking allow gay marriage?
Right.
You just wanted to get married. Go get married. Jesus Christ, this doesn't
Right.
seem hard to me. So then we had to make exemplary little rules and exceptions for this and exceptions for that because we had to be nannied and we had to have Big Brother tell us what was
one of
good
my
for
favorite
us.
stand-up bits of all time is an old Doug Stanhope stand-up.
Yeah,
and
he's
he's
a
talking
funny
about
guy.
how he's like, man, I am so against this gay marriage thing, and everybody kind of starts, booing him a little bit. He's like, fuck you. They have no more right to be miserable than the rest of us. And he's like, marriage. Basically he was just saying exactly that point. He's like, I don't believe in gay marriage. I don't believe in marriage. I have never loved anybody so much that I thought I want the government involved.
Exactly.
But I agree. I thought that the being opposed to gay marriage was basically just it made no sense.
Yeah.
I don't understand how anybody's could be threatened by.
So then flip that script a little bit. You look at it and you go, okay, the guy on the right, he's opposed to gay marriage for whatever ridiculous reason people have for it. And then you have the guy that's opposed to legalized weed, and you have, we had the 18th Amendment because we were opposed to legalized alcohol. I mean, you have all these little things that everybody's kind of shoved down your throat, and then on a constitutional side, it was all allowed beforehand. It was natural. The founders were drinking and fighting a revolution. Why the hell did we have to legislate booze later on?
Right.
It got really weird where we were asking for permissions for all of these silly things that should have been inherent and should have been known, and but we got dependent on somebody telling us what we already knew.
Right.
We looked for self-affirmation on the gay marriage thing. We looked at it on the marijuana situation. Minnesota sucks on marijuana because we're dumbasses and we depend on the nanny state to take care of us. We could have legalized it. But instead we went, well, let's get this little squeaky medical marijuana law in here
Right.
that allows a couple of dispensaries that are government owned and run and only these two places that can grow it. And everybody went, yeah, we're making incremental headway. Where are you at now?
Right.
You've made no further headway. We tried to bring this up last session, and you know what they did? They just went, fuck you.
Yeah.
You've got what you asked for. Well, there you go.
And even them deregulating hemp,
Yeah.
they did it in such a restrictive way that it's
By the way, Richard Nixon, fuck you. I hope you turn over in your grave, you anti-pot hemp douchebag. You deserved every bit of death you got. Sorry.
I didn't know that. I didn't actually know that about Nixon.
He's very much involved in making sure that hemp remained illegal.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I knew that originally it had to do with the whole, Rothschild or whatever the fuck it was. But then
the Rothschild.
Nixon was
Nixon
big
was
in it?
responsible for a lot of wonderful things. The Department of Education, the war on drugs. His works in the 70s prior to getting his ass thrown out essentially were really kind of shitty, other than getting us home from Vietnam, which is what made my father a Republican. Simply based on that. He said he got out of going, and my uncle got to come home because Dick Nixon went, yeah, fuck it, these guys are coming home. Why are we over there? So it's the one good thing that he did, other than die. As far as I can figure. I've been looking for shining examples. I haven't found any. So
but the whole gay marriage thing, that fucked me up. Like that, I kept seeing examples. Like I'm like, man, like this guy is a really good guy. He's a great dude, wonderful person, but he's against gay marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and then that's like I always wind up, I get myself into that fucking situation where I'm like, is that motherfucker still a wonderful person? Like, is he still a decent person? Like, why the fuck? Like, because if somebody's fucking marriage is against your religion, then it's a fucking problem between you and your religion. Fuck
Right.
you. That shit fucked me up. And I always run into that kind of shit.
So I think it's totally okay for somebody not to believe in gay
But then,
marriage.
what is a good person?
Like somebody who holds religious beliefs to say, like, I would not officiate on
Right.
what. Fine,
Sure.
don't officiate it.
But making it like illegal for somebody else.
Right.
and that's where we got into that
I
nanny
think that
state.
the whole I think you're 100% right on, though. Really, like, I don't think that the government should have the right at all
No.
to like legislate our marriage. I don't even actually. I mean, I'm not kidding. I don't really believe in marriage. Like, I think that really we should have only civil unions, right? Everybody should have civil unions, and marriages should be done if you want them to be done. That should be something that would be done in your church
and
or with your
historically they
friends
always
or
were.
whatever. Yeah.
It
Do you
was
think
just-
back in the Celtic days when they were hand fastening and shit, they like fucking they called up like what Caesar and were like, hey Caesar.
That's really why Robin Hood was robbing from the rich and giving to the poor,
Actually-
so he could keep those darn weddings
I
going.
need to-
It's really interesting that
I'm
you
going to get
brought up
married. I
Robin
need to have
Hood.
this background check done, and I need you to do a background check on me, and then
Well, only if we're going to do a shotgun wedding.
Right, exactly. Would have cut down on a lot of, weird daddy, grandpa, cousin things were all the same, I
I
suppose.
want to talk about Robin Hood really quick. though.
Okay.
Darren Losses the other day. I was at 9th Street Social Club, and he came in. And first of all, I didn't realize that Darren was such a fucking whiskey expert.
Well, yeah.
Really?
How did you not know that?
I just had no idea. I didn't pay attention. I'm a narcissist.
he's a connoisseur.
But if he's buying whiskey from me, then I'm interested.
Right.
Anyway,
Fair enough.
great conversation about whiskey. But then we started talking about some books, and he recommended a book that I just recently read, and I'm gonna
Shit.
look it up. What?
He recommended the same book to me, and I didn't fucking read it.
No, I read all three of them
Well,
since he recommended it to me last week.
look who the narcissist
Well,
at the table is now.
I have, but I have a problem. So it's called King Raven is the series. Sorry, and it's by this guy named Stephen R. Lawhead. And apparently this guy is like a Cambridge University or some professor of history, really like whatever. And he wrote a book that's the tale of Robin Hood, but it's set in it's essentially what is the most probable realistic origin story. of
So
Robin Hood.
before Robin Hood was like preempted, or it was jacked by the Normans to support their support the.
He essentially starts out as a Welsh prince, and that it's really well written, very very historically plausible, right?
Nice.
And actually even go so far as to kind of like explain how it ended up becoming the modern myth that it is today. really fucking good book. And so thanks, Darren. I loved it. Can't wait to see you on Saturday so we can talk about it. Fucking great. But they were talking about, you brought up the Welsh bowmen and how like fucking vastly superior that they were at the time.
I just brought up the Welsh. You guys just knew about the longbow and made that connection on your own.
Oh. Okay, well, Welsh bowmen were badasses.
That's welcome. Where the longbow, the yew tree, and all that shit. And,
yep.
It all comes back. Weird.
Well, because we've been accused of like, leaving people out of stuff that we
say shit all the time.
Yeah.
Which another thing.
Catch up.
Listening to the podcast last week, and I was ranting about my brother's tattoo. Which I'm just going to make that a standard now. But
it's a good call.
My brother has a tattoo on his forearm that he designed himself, and it's the Statue of Liberty holding a gun, wrapped in the American flag, swaddling a baby
with an erection.
And it says
the baby has an erection.
They both have an erection.
Okay. And it says
and a gun.
It says never come between a mother and her child underneath it. Okay.
Fair enough.
He's probably on your team, but
more than likely.
But the tattoo drives me crazy, and for a couple of reasons. And when I listened to the podcast last week, I realized that I didn't even explain why it makes me so batshit crazy. He doesn't own a gun, and he doesn't have a baby. He's not. I'm like, and he's not
let
a
alone
fucking
a
woman.
baby gun.
I was like, nothing about this represents you.
Makes sense.
You're not a gun owner. You're not a father or a parent. And you're not a mother. Like, never come between a mother and her child. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. But you know what?
Shouldn't get a tattoo of a koala bear then, because he's not a fucking Aussie, huh?
No, I'd get a koala bear tattoo because
bigot much, libtard?
I'm big into syphilis. Wait, did you just say bigot much, libtard? Because that's a new T-shirt right there. Oh my God, that's a great T-shirt idea.
Shit.
Speaking of being a libtard, I have made a resolution to stop using plastic. Yeah, maybe not 100%, but as much as humanly possible. I drink an enormous amount of bubbly water, and I finally made the jump to an infusion. I didn't do a soda stream because I actually did research, and it's not the best. So I got a different version. So I'm trying to make the commitment, and I was perusing your Facebook, and I saw your fucking post about the paper straw. You want to tell that story? That's like Michael and I we're like identical. We're like identical. I have made a commitment to no longer use plastic, and
I'm not going to use paper straws because they forced me to use a paper straw
that you had to ask for.
Yep. I got to the stupid fast food place, which I don't eat anymore, but I was starving and I needed something. So I get the stupid glass of crappy soda, and I said, geez, can I get a straw? And they said, yeah, great. And they handed me a paper straw, which automatically suck because you're going to dip them in liquid and let it sit there, which is stupid. I'm going to put paper in water and then be bummed out that it didn't work out right. But nevertheless, I'm frustrated, and I throw my cigarette in the damn thing.
Sounds like something you should fire through a straw.
Yeah. So then I throw my cigarette in my cup, and it lights the straw on fire because it's a fucking paper straw, and I can no longer just put my damn cigarette out in there because it's going to light the fucking straw on fire. So I threw the damn thing out in the woods and just let her go. Just kept driving. Like, fuck it. You know what? Washington, burn, you sons of bitches.
You're still smoking?
Yeah.
That was actually my opinion.
Heart attack, smart attack. It's not like it can kill me.
True.
Yeah. So we're both like ecotarians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've gone green.
Yeah. Gone green. Yeah. As I was contemplating giving up plastic, I was reading this and it cracked me up.
Paper straws.
Yeah, paper straws.
I do have a bunch of metal straws at home for my neck surgery because I couldn't move my head, so the only way to consume anything was through straws. And So I was like, well, you just get these silly little metal straws because they've already got the built-in curve, and you could reuse them. So
I've got a couple of metal straws, except like one of them's even got a little handle on it and shit, but they're only like that long. So
I got a couple of those. They came with a spoon set.
Right? Fucking can't drink a fucking thing out of them. They're too short.
It's for doing shots.
Silly. Yes. So anyway,
oh no, I'm all good to talk about drugs, but
I'm good with doing them. So I guess we're totally simpatico.
Can't be doing.
go talk about it. Be about it.
So how do you feel about our current president?
Well, here's the thing: the Cheeto Jesus, the Mango Mussolini. He's an interesting character. Look, the guy's got a couple of cool ideas. He sucks balls on the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Always has, always will. Deal with it. It's not 4D chess. He sucks balls on the Second Amendment. This is a man that got bump stocks banned, has asked the BATFE to do the same thing with suppressors. He is on public record stating, I like red flag laws. I believe we should take the gun first, worry about due process later.
Okay, I don't need any of my quotes.
And then he just authorized $25 million in study funds for non-objective studies on gun violence. Now, the last time we had this was prior to the Dickey Amendment, where we just gave money and said,
non-objective studies? That sounds like that should be my thing. I want to do
right?
that.
You're in.
Fuck. So where do I sign up?
We used to have
Give
these
me
gun
the money.
studies, and they always came in favor of gun control. So they passed the Dickey Amendment that said, look, we have the funding for you, but you have to be sure that it's an objective study. It can't be going in looking for gun control, and it can't be going in looking for pro-gun. It just has to go down the middle. Let the chips fall where they may, but you can't have an objective or an agenda. Nobody could do it, so they passed the Dickey Amendment that said, great, we'll withhold your funding unless you can do this. So then we've sat for 20 years going, well, we don't have any money to fund anything. Well, it's there. We just never did it because nobody could be objective. Now Trump comes along and goes, pulls an Oprah, 25 million for you, 25 million for you, there's money for you, do what you want with it. And he's going to come back with a study, and this will happen in his next session.
Do you mean to say that President Trump is not fiscally
the tangerine
responsible?
tyrant? Dear God, no. That's another issue that I have as well. But he'll come back next term if he wins, and he will use the gun study that was funded with $25 million of our money to justify red flag laws nationally. He will. Mark my words. The man sucks on guns. He's good on a couple of things. He's really funny. I crack up at the
Funny?
dude. Yeah, oh God, he's
Yeah.
hilarious. He's goddamn hilarious because he just talks stupid. And I can relate. I have done a lot of dumb shit, and I've said a lot of stupid things, and they just come out. I'm also not the president, so I don't really have to worry about it a whole lot. I'm not worth anything, so you aren't going to cost me my job because, I mean, whatever. I can go get another mediocre job. That's cool. So he's fun to watch, and he's got a few good ideas. I like the tax cut. It may not have benefited everybody, but according to the government's own latest studies, 84% of people benefited from the tax cut overall. It might have only been $2, but you did benefit from the tax cut. So you go, okay, great, it was a start. In my world, it wasn't near enough. We should have all gotten all of our damn money back, and then they could stop bombing 7 countries, and we could stop legislating fucking weddings, and we could stop worrying about marijuana. We could just go, just give us our money back, and you know what, guys? Just deal with the one thing you need to. Make sure nobody comes here and fucks us over. Simple as that.
Infrastructure.
Yeah. And even infrastructure. The Lincoln Highway was the first transcontinental U.S. highway. It was completely privately funded. They built it all the way across the country. They went all the way across the whole country. Never a dime in government money. We didn't take taxpayer dollars until the 1950s. We already had highways across the whole country.
Do you think we could still do that today, though?
Yeah, I think we could. But the government got involved because they realized there was some fucking money to be made. This is great. We can control the flow of traffic.
I suppose
the flow
like
of
businesses, would pay for because businesses have to move their goods. So like one would normally think well, the businesses, if they're if they want to transport their goods, then they'll build these, and then of course there'll be toll roads and shit like that. But then when these businesses discover that they can get the money out of the government, like, hey, why the fuck would we do this?
Exactly.
And then because I think regardless of how we differ on some issues, I think we can all agree that fucking huge corporations and fabulously wealthy people are the ones that fucking run shit. And the system, who does the system work for? It fucking works for them.
There's a certain power in that sort of money. There's a bit of the oligarch sort of thing where they get to dictate how we're going to do things. Okay, which is why, again, coming back to the local level, I'm going to push. Like my resolutions or not, like my ideas or not, I believe that I can enact change. I think anybody can. Well, you served in the...
I ran.
I mean,
didn't win.
Yeah, but
Thank
you were
God.
kind of I know, right? In retrospect, it worked out okay. But you can do that on a local level, and if we can do it on a local level, then why can't we do it on a state level? Why can't we do it on a national level?
Well, I think that the lesson from that video that I watched, yeah, Craig, I watched one fucking video. Craig, and it changed my mind.
It was more than enough. He read the title and he was like, "Fuck, I'm in." That's my game.
The idea of that video was that, you need little municipalities to move the dial, and when enough of that happens, then then nationwide changes. Yeah, I think that's true.
I think that's one of the backlashes for Marxism. I'm not a fan of Marxism. I understand the concept can be applied on a very small scale, and it works fairly well. It's not real viable at 400 million people.
A hard one to implement.
Expanse.
Fuck yeah.
It's just, you're not going to get that for 325 million people that all think very differently, and especially when there's assholes like me that still believe in a constitutional concept and an independent concept. We were founded on individual liberty, so why should my every doing be your responsibility and vice versa?
Right.
I just want to be left alone in the woods. Just let me go kill stuff and eat weird foods that I grow on my property, and don't dictate my life. Under the Marxist ideas, you would have to, but in a communal living situation, small countries like Finland, that you've got a country that has less people than we have in the state. We can't figure out how to run our state.
Well, that was one thing
Minnesota.
I was thinking. Okay, I got 2 points though. One is that I was listening to Joe Rogan the other day, and they were talking about it was a guy expert on anti-aging or whatever, and their foundation is all privately funded, and he said that basically that's the only reason that they're being able to make these huge gains is because they're privately funded. If they're publicly funded, you essentially are you're forced to go after the lowest hanging fruit because that's the only thing that can get funded. And I fucking thought that was super interesting. And he said now it's actually there's these angel investors that are willing to put up a sizable chunk of money on the idea that this could pan out, and if they end up getting the next really viable aging, anti-aging like drug, then they're going to make a shit pile of money, but they also might not. So it's high risk, high reward, which the government just is never going to fund. I thought that was interesting. A, okay, that was my first point. B, God damn it. I don't remember what B was, what we were talking about. Well,
That's my line, motherfucker. What are you doing? I'm the scatterbrained one.
It's because I'm not getting any BBPs or whatever they're called.
I should let everybody know before a bunch of I'm not gonna say it. I'll just say family member lovers before they get on Facebook.
Chicken lovers.
The Karl Marx shirt was a joke. I'm not really a communist.
Kyle,
mostly.
This is like that point in the show, right? That I always get super disappointed where I'm like, I am not dumb, motherfucker. Don't show me the way all of the pieces fit together.
I have to say it for that for
you're treating our audience like they're idiots.
Oh, I know Craig
watches.
I'm just prepping my Facebook friends list.
I'm just kidding, Craig. I don't think you're an idiot. I know that you're smart. I was just a little pissed at you the other day. And my mom taught me two things: how to duck and how to hold a grudge.
Fair enough.
And I'm very good at both of those things.
I've got grudges
What
down.
the fuck was the second thing I wanted to
I don't know.
How to hold a duck and what?
Yeah.
So how do you feel about
For 72 hours?
Medicare for all?
I'm opposed to it myself simply because, kind of like we just talked about, if it's viable and if it matters to you, why the hell wouldn't you pay for it? Why wouldn't you voluntarily pay for it?
Okay.
Now, I will come back to this I've been ridiculously well blessed with a stupid work ethic. So I don't ever stop working. I'm constantly moving, and it's moving and it's moving. I'm putting in close to 70 hours a week. I make a really healthy income. They also take 42% of my fucking taxes.
Right.
So y'all
You should get something for that.
Yeah, y'all can
like healthcare.
fuck right off on it. My healthcare, however, is provided by my employer at $8.82 a month.
Get the fuck out of here.
I had $262,000 in medical bills last year. My out-of-pocket was $4,000 for a heart attack and neck surgery.
Wow.
So, again, I ask, why should they take 60% of my income for health care when right now my company is taking about 0.05% of my income to provide me with that option?
So
now, it's not always options for everybody.
Right.
I get that. But I'm also a believer that if you came to me and said, look, man, I got cancer. They think it's curable. It's treatable. I just really can't afford to pay this. You know what? Let me see what I can do to help you.
Sure.
Because I can do that one-on-one. I can do it for people.
Yeah, because I think that everybody should have to GoFundMe their health care.
I really do. I sort of do, in as much as if we took the government out and the insurance companies out, because they're kind of what's screwing us right now. The insurance companies are getting really big because of government rules that said you get to get really big by doing these things and jumping through these hoops. It's why the Oklahoma Surgery Center is now one of the top surgical centers in the country, and they only take cash.
Right.
The shoulder surgery that I needed was like $31,000 here. That same shoulder surgery down there with guaranteed outcomes and all of my aftercare was $7,100.
Wow.
Right.
It was $31,000 here if I took insurance.
So
you took the insurers out of it, and the doctors still made a price. He's still driving a Mercedes.
Right.
But
I was saying last week, my chiropractic office, like when I look at the cash, to treatment for the cash versus what they're gonna it's like,
yeah,
it's obvious that there's a billing issue. Okay. I have a couple of problems with it, and I just wonder what you think about it. We already spend each per capita, $11,000 a person in America, and we have a shit pile of people that aren't covered with health care, and
7 million out of 325,000 or 325 million. It's not too bad.
I think it's 24, but it doesn't matter about the numbers. There's a shit pile of people that aren't covered under health care.
See, you should have done your homework.
Right. I could contribute something to this. Except I think the number's bigger too. But why do I think that? Because I think that.
I saw it on Facebook.
And
I read one fucking article. And
wasn't from you, Craig.
And so we're paying $11,000 a person, right? And we have shittier outcomes than most of the rest of the civilized nations, and we have a big chunk of people that aren't. Now, I get it that your job and you have great health insurance, it sounds like, and they take a very little percentage of your but still your employer is paying $11,000 a year.
Right. So
you could get $11,000 raise, essentially, and then whatever. So I think that there would be some offset. Your argument is that you don't think that the government should be doing that?
No, because the government is why the insurance companies are what they are. They're why the regulations are so high and so crazy. So now we're looking at Medicare for all, and I love the concept of it. But you're going to take a government that has proven itself to be fiscally irresponsible, to overspend and overregulate, and you're going to say, okay, you guys fucking handled this. Right. Here's my money, and I'm sure it's going to come in at that magical number you've all made up.
I have heard that argument many times, and it is completely obvious that our government is inept. Right. All right? Really fucking inept. And but that's not that I don't accept.
Are they inept or are they just corrupt?
Yes.
Is there a difference?
The answer is yes.
Yeah, well,
because there are certain things. I mean, there are some things that the government does well. I mean, there are some programs that work efficiently and shit like that.
The military,
but no, not at all. We spend fucking phenomenal.
Okay, give me an example of something that works good.
The Pentagon, they just did a study. The Pentagon got audited, and what was it? How many trillion dollars?
$6 trillion.
$6 trillion unaccounted for. Mm-hmm. So the military is not a good example. But there are things that the government
I
does.
was thinking outcomes, though. I mean, like
Even that.
Well,
though,
yeah, even that.
How
I mean,
long
for
have
what
we
we
been in
spend,
Afghanistan?
no, that's on
we don't
purpose.
kill
Outcome
nearly the
work out.
brown people that we pay to kill.
Now, Medicare for all, I will give you. I would love to see a co-op system on a state level.
That's what I was gonna say.
So
You
why?
know,
So
I like that
I started
too.
doing a lot more thinking about it, listening
yeah,
to the podcast.
I don't want the Fed involved in my life. They're not supposed to be. Now, the state, I have direct say over the state. I
Right.
have sway in my state.
Yes.
I honestly don't get a lot of sway in the federal government. I get representation of the president, and that's about the extent of it. Okay, cool, but let's get on a state level. Why in the hell are we dealing with federal regulations for doctors that only work here?
So I think that we should that the federal government should pass some laws that make it so that the government can fucking
Pass no more laws.
that'd be a good idea. No, but like right now there's a law that says that the government has to pay retail price for prescription drugs. And
Yes.
they cannot negotiate with drug companies.
Yes.
It's like the most asinine.
How
law
did that
ever.
come to be?
Right. Yeah.
Pharmaceuticals. I
And-
wonder if the insurers and the pharmaceutical companies were interested.
It's almost
in
like
that.
these guys are in cahoots. Motherfucker.
And then I think that might not be a bad choice.
Right.
To have 50 different universal health care.
Yeah.
But the thing is I think that everyone in your state has to have health care.
Right. And that's where I think you could do it on a state scale because I can walk to my capital. You know, I can pop
Right.
into the capital and go, okay, look, show me the numbers. You know, pull off that movie with them people in it that were showing the money. Show me where the money's at. Give me the paper trail and let me see what you're really looking at. Why are you going to give, and that's where the insurers and the system now suck. How come this hospital is getting $400 for this hospital's getting $200, and that hospital's getting $1,000 for the exact same thing?
Right.
At a state level, we could go, no. This is what we're doing. We know the manufacturing costs, the distribution costs. We know the outcomes of this medication. Then, by God, the doctors have all agreed that they can get by on $62 for that medication. Then that's it. There's your price because it's represented by the people. That's going to make it affordable for all of us. It gets the federal BS out of there.
Yep. I don't disagree
it's
with
definitely
that idea.
a viable option.
Back before Obamacare, Minnesota Care was pretty fucking fantastic.
You know,
It
everybody
would
I
go
knew that was
up-
using it thought it was pretty all right.
Yeah, and you could get on Minnesota Care as an individual
Mm-hmm.
up to like making $60,000 a year, and you just paid a higher premium.
Yes.
And you could do that to go all the way across, like
See,
where it didn't matter if you're making $250,000 a year, it's fine.
And
your
and
premiums. Is
so you
higher.
have that as a voluntary option, which is nice too.
and
so
it's
if
a
I-
bond, but then there's no insurance companies.
Exactly. There's no insurance company. There's one central regulator that just goes, this is the way the people have agreed on. Again, 50 laboratories of best practice. We can all sit down together and go, yeah, we like this. This is going to work. Again, though, it falls on tomorrow we have lobby day. So it's Firearm Owners Lobby Day. We get to go down to the Capitol and be represented. We get to go talk to our people. This same sort of thing with Medicare for All, or a Minnesota version of it, would require something slightly more than what we give it now, our apathy.
Right.
If we aren't talking to our legislators and we aren't talking to even our local politicians, they're just doing what they think is right. What they think you want them to do, what they think is best for you. But that's not your job. You govern at my consent, so I need to tell you what I consent to. So you could do it on a state level, but we would have to be active enough where we were all going, doesn't take much to write an email and make a follow-up call. Hey, where are we at on this bill? This is where I'm at. Here's how I think we could do it. The whole state could actually be involved and centralize it into our system and go, great, there's our caps.
I do like that idea, and I do feel like Minnesota has always been pretty good at that.
Politically, we're fairly decent about a lot of stuff
Yeah.
too, which
and I
is
think part of
nice.
it is because we're so weird. Because we always,
Dude, right?
I mean, we're really weird though. Like this is the fucking state that had Paul Wellstone.
Yes.
And then
I miss Paul Wellstone.
I do too. It was fucking fantastic.
I always
And-
wanted to wrestle him.
And then
He was a wrestler. A lot of you, if you don't know that, yes, Paul Wellstone was a good wrestler.
but I mean, we'll have like ultra conservative governors and fucking whack job liberals, and we'll just elect whoever. We had Jesse fucking Ventura, by the way. I mean,
I've heard people have often described us as a lot more
I think
European.
I think we're gun-toed
you know?
liberals. That's like the big. I mean, I think that I
can get you a pin that says that. Actually,
can you?
Yeah,
I like
I have
the
buttons
idea.
that say that gun loving or gun toting liberals. Yeah,
Yeah. I'm even down with gun toting liberals.
I will hook you up.
But I feel like that's probably the largest group of people. I mean, most everybody I know is pro Second Amendment, but also pro some kind of reasonable health care. You know, those two. Those are the two big issues, I think.
I guess as far as states go, look at our law enforcement and stuff like that. I mean, I feel like Minnesota overall, I feel like we're pretty reasonable folks.
Except for Frank Ball. That guy's a fucking douchebag.
And, I mean, we're not Wisconsin.
It's true. Yeah.
So.
Manitowoc. You ever watched Making a Murderer?
I have customers in Manitowoc. I have to go there about every 2 months.
Have you ever asked them about it?
Nope.
They get
they get fired up over that
girl
shit?
I used to know was dating a guy from Manitowoc, and she went with him to the holidays. She was a huge Making a Murderer fan and couldn't wait to go and like check it out. And she goes and she says, "Hey, have you guys seen that?" And they were like, they were fucking just ice to her after that. They wouldn't. They were like, "We don't talk about that in this household." And just shit like that. I don't know. Anytime you get put under a microscope, it's whatever.
I don't watch TV, so my reference to that was a little bit vague. But you've seen my long running saga of hotel hallways.
Yeah.
Really enjoy them, by the way.
I posted from Manitowoc once, and somebody was like, "Oh, that's where that Make a Murder thing." I was like, "What in the hell are you even talking about?"
Oh, my God.
I had to get on the Googles to figure out what they were talking about, and I was like, "Oh, it's a TV show, so that's why I don't know about it," so I shut it off.
You should, you spend a lot of time in the car.
Yes, I do.
And I do want to talk a little bit about podcasts here in a second, and some other things, but you could listen to it.
Yeah.
You really could. It's a documentary on Netflix, but it's you could definitely listen to it and get the gist of it. It's really good.
I get through this book on Jefferson, and I might get
Yeah. Okay. Just before we get into that, because I do want to talk about the fucking crazy shit you're listening to. What's your opinion of Bernie Sanders?
I think he's a self-avowed socialist. I know everybody keeps saying he's not a socialist.
Social democrat, but whatever.
He was a social democrat when he decided to run for president.
Regardless, I'll accept
Democrat.
it. I'll accept it.
So
we'll allow it.
Yeah, judges ruled, and okay. So I'm not a big fan of socialism. I just don't. I don't like it. I don't like Marxism. I don't like the idea of it. Now, is he well-intentioned? I think he is. I think Bernie Sanders is actually well-intentioned on the social side of it. I think he really does want good for people.
I feel like I mentioned that a friend of mine messaged me earlier today, and I was like, is he perfect? No. Is he one good man in this fucking dirty lineup?
Right. So mine comes from a difference of opinion. I want good for people too, but I don't want government to tell me what the fuck is good for me. I don't want government deciding it. I don't want central planning deciding it. And I damn sure don't want a guy that goes, well, the bread lines weren't so bad. I mean, at least they had bread. You know what I got? I got 900 loaves of fucking bread on the kitchen shelves. You know, I can walk into a grocery store and have 900 choices of bread. You were happy with communism in Russia because, well, at least they had bread. I can't vote for somebody like that, which sucks because he is a well-intentioned guy. He comes across a little loony, but he's also 80. And I don't know too many 80-year-olds that don't come off a little bit cockeyed here and there because you get a little bit.
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
he comes off awesome.
You do hit a point too where you just go, fuck, I'm 80, man. I don't have to be rules and decorum now, you know?
I do. It does crack me up that he only yells.
He does, and the hand thing.
Yeah,
just to go, oh my God. Yeah.
He is kind of awesome like that. Like he doesn't look, I mean, he's no fucking Bill Clinton or Barack Obama or something, you know?
Not
like,
slick.
He doesn't look presidential.
Yeah,
that's part of his charm.
If he does get elected, it's going to be really hard to switch from somebody who is so presidential to somebody who is.
What that brings, so you do have that too. So that was one of the big things where I heard with Trump. Well, you can't elect him; he's not presidential. But here's Bernie. Okay, we don't want Trump because he's an old rich white guy. And I'm sorry, but that other party has nominated or has up for their nomination 3 old rich white dudes.
Well,
and I'm sorry,
Bernie's an old Jew that just made his money selling a book.
And he didn't make he didn't make that much
Yeah,
money.
he's a millionaire now.
He's marginally.
But I mean, does he
would-
still drive a fucking Honda Accord?
He
I
does,
mean,
but I would recommend looking at his wife's wealth, which was made by owning the advertising company that he pays for his presidential campaigns.
You know what?
Which is a cool scam.
Sure.
I think it's pretty usable. I like that idea
Yeah.
because you get 15% right off the cut. So if you sign a $6 million advertising deal, they get 15% of that. So she's got a pretty nice chunk of money, which worked
Sure.
out well. And I think that's brilliant because if you're going to have a corrupt system, if you're not going to burn the motherfucker to the ground, then you better use it to your benefit.
Well, I
that's
mean-
the heart of capitalism. So let's
that's
just go
kind
with
of,
it. So
I mean, Trump basically said that when he was running. He was like,
Absolutely.
yeah, of course I didn't pay any taxes. You have stupid tax law.
yeah.
So why would I pay any
And
taxes?
there's
He
no
didn't
hurry to
fix
change
that
'em.
by
No.
any means. He didn't. He wasn't like, yeah. When I get in there, I'll clean that all
Yeah.
up. I mean, maybe he said that, but he certainly didn't.
I don't even think
Yeah,
he said that. I think he was outright like, y'all have to fix it.
Yeah, because he was like, I have zero chance of winning here.
does that fucking draining the swamp thing? Like, I see people that really think that shit's a real thing. They
That
take
he
it
is
seriously.
draining the swamp?
Yeah, and they're like, "Cause he's." I had a guy who's a good guy.
Well, to be fair, he's
fired a lot of
he's
people.
fired more people and had them quit on him than any other president ever. But I don't
don't know
think
if
any
you're-
of those people who quit or like
yeah, I don't know if that counts as the swamp
because they're like
But I had a guy try to tell me the other day. He's like, well, he's just fixing the corruption, and I'm like, good lord,
You know-
I mean, that whole fucking like,
the one thing I do like about Bernie, and actually, and you, I mean, as you well know, I'm like all in libtard, but you ever watch Tropic Thunder? You know?
Oh, it's the
Robert
the
Downey.
movie actor.
Robert Downey Jr. is
I
in
saw parts of
blackface,
that,
and
yeah.
he's talking to the other guy. I can't remember his name. The actor, but he's like he's saying,
oh, you can't go full retard.
yeah, never go full retard. You went full retard. You can never go full retard. And so like I know I'm all in. I'm full libtard. But one thing I do think is I don't think Bernie is actually beholden to all of the like,
Well, he's not an insider. He's not
special
one of
interest
those
powers
guys.
that be.
Like, he's definitely fucking. I mean, the rest of them are.
And I
even
think that
Elizabeth Warren, like, who I
She's
really
a
like,
sellout.
But god damn.
Fake Indian. Shut up. Get away.
Oh my god, that was embarrassing.
That's what Joe Rogan says. She's got no chance because of the Pocahontas. Like it's just
it was a terrible thing to do in the first place, and then your cover for it is, see, I really am because I'm 1064th. She's whiter than Bernie.
It's fucking.
Right.
It's funny what passes. Like, and I'm not like her example is a fucking horrible example of even this, but it's funny to me, like when you watch stuff about anything that has to do with like Indians nowadays, like natives nowadays.
it's actually
and
Indian.
either.
And like up here, we know what a fucking we know natives.
Yeah.
But you look at these other places in the fucking country and shit, and you're like, that guy,
Like he got blonde hair.
he's fucking Chinese, or like you're like, well, shit like this. You're like, I'm like, oh, that guy's fucking got a Jew-fro. Like, how? Like, you know how? But no, like my great, like these fucking ridiculous tiny percentages and shit. And I'm like, man, can you get a casino check off that shit? Like, what the fuck?
That's something
It's
my
fucking
wife and I have talked
ridiculous.
about a lot, that we don't like it, and we do it with the kids too. There's nobody in our world that is Native American, African American, Asian American. Everybody's a fucking American, and we're very simple about it. I don't really give two shits what your ethnic heritage may have been at one point in time. You're an American. So we don't do it at home. Like, the kids don't come home and talk about our African American friends. They're just, everybody's an American. You live here, you're an American. If you came over from England and you're heading back there tomorrow, well, then you're a fucking Brit.
Yeah.
And go back there, limey
And
bastards.
I think that shit happens organically, because I remember like, I still use sometimes I'll say like black friend or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why the fuck did I say that? Because like most of the time anymore, I don't.
Oh, I
I don't use black friend as much as
it's my friend.
as much as I did earlier. I can tell a story without prefacing that the person that was with me in this story was black,
Exactly.
unless it is germane to the conversation.
Exactly.
That's
You
the
know?
thing. And I've had somebody had called me out on that a while ago, and like I said, and it was about spitball, and I was saying, yeah, and we had Chase Colley on Kyle's black friend. He's just Kyle's friend. Yes, he's just Kyle's friend, but he's fucking black, and it was important to why we had him on, motherfucker.
We focused a lot on race and
make
stuff like
me
that.
pistol whip you,
Right?
you know? Correct me, motherfucker.
Yep. No,
Okay,
I'm with you there.
Bernie's stance on gun control.
Sucks.
It's not bad.
It sucks.
It's not bad.
It sucks. His
It's not
only
bad.
his only stance is I won't confiscate them because that's unconstitutional. How else will you regulate them?
His record. Okay, what about his record before this particular election
He
cycle?
voted against the Brady bill.
Yeah, as well, everybody should have.
See, he has a
He voted against the Brady bill though because it didn't go far enough.
no. Last time I looked up his
I don't
he
think
had high
so.
marks from the NRA last election,
And he does. There's one benefit of where he comes from. Representing that area, you aren't going to take guns from those people. And they
Right.
tried it in that general area. I mean, they've got some regulations. Connecticut has done it. Connecticut had the registration of bump stocks and AR-15s. They've had 41 people register them. Of the suspected 40,000 owned there. Even the cops were like, we aren't registering our fucking guns. F off. We're not going to do it. So, so your neighboring states, Bernie's going, yeah, man, they film silly ass New England wild boys living in the wilds nature shows on TV for the people I'm supposed to be representing, and I'm supposed to say take their guns. He's not a dumb man. He's smart enough to understand that. And as a Marxist, Karl Marx's whole philosophy...
I'm the resident Marxist.
by the way. Marx's whole philosophy came down to an admission that in order to implement Marxism and socialism, it was going to take bloody terror, violent terror. He knew that ultimately you were going to have to wipe out the people that, because there are always going to be people like me that don't believe. Not going to buy into it. I'm just not. I am way too independent. I will die on my feet and not live on my knees. That's how it's going to work. Marx knew that, so he actually spoke at great lengths about this. He had a number of articles that were written that he discussed it's going to take a violent revolution because I'm going to have to wipe out all these people that don't believe in order to be left with only believers. And I get it. It makes sense. So why would a self-avowed socialist who has no problem with bread lines want to get rid of guns when he recognizes the whole concept is in order to get this all the way, push it over the finish line, I got to wipe out the last strongholds of believers. Now I'm a conspiracy theorist.
I was gonna say,
and
do you
kind of a
think
dick.
Bernie? If you look at Bernie Sanders and think, "There, I see you, devil,"
But
Emperor Palpatine.
again, I think he has potential, and I think
He
his
would do
heart's in the
well.
right place. But
He could play. He could do a Palpatine. And then it makes, that's actually not a bad idea because then he can get a clone, and then because he's so fucking old that what are the chances he's gonna make it?
I'm no spring
16 years, because he's gonna obviously take away the whole term limit.
Well, see, that's how Elizabeth Warren is going to become the first female president because during Bernie's second term, he's going to die.
See, now I don't think so. Bernie, I do believe Bernie's a true believer.
I do too.
I think he really believes what he's saying, and I don't like everybody's talking Klobuchar or Warren as a VP. No.
I like Amy. I have met her several times. Let's not talk about her politics.
Yeah.
I just like her.
Yeah.
I find her very sincere. She's very sweet. She's also really accessible. You can go up and talk to her, and she's very accessible.
She comes from the Wellstone School of Politics too, though. I mean, and he was very much that way, which was fantastic. But no, I see Bernie taking.
So you liked Paul Wellstone?
I liked Paul Wellstone a lot as a person.
Yeah.
And he was very Mondalean,
yeah.
Which is a good thing in my opinion. Mondale, for being a Democrat, he was a very JFK Democrat, which is fantastic. Neither of them would fit the Democrat Party today.
Right.
Oh my God.
They would be booted right the hell out.
Right? Not a
But
fucking
see,
Which
chance.
is and Ronald Reagan was basically JFK.
He wouldn't.
You
He wouldn't fit. He couldn't be a Republican anymore.
Absolutely
No,
not.
not at all.
Even though the Republicans talk about how great Reagan was, and we all loved him, we loved everything about
Yeah,
him.
they venerate him, but he would
He
never
was-
fucking.
I was
he would
actually
last.
I was just listening to a podcast today. I know I say that a lot.
Weird.
But and it was.
I'm-
but
you're-
it was about Ronald.
Matt's actually listening to one right now.
I have my job owns it. But it was about the current state of affairs in nuclear war. Whatever, doesn't matter. But they were talking about Ronald Reagan, and Ronald Reagan was actually he really wanted to get rid of nuclear weapons.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And people don't think of him that way. They
Oh,
think
yeah.
of him as like the big, like he was a big into the nuke thing, but he was very like, he was really concerned.
I think people forget that he was a lifetime Democrat.
Right.
You know, I mean, this is the man that served as the governor of California as a Democrat.
Right.
And then...
And did some pretty crazy gun control stuff too.
And he really did. Yeah. Well,
But then after he got shot...
But you got to get rid of the Black Panthers, man.
But see, people are fucking weird about that when it comes... Like, people... Reagan is a really good example of this. Once somebody's gone and, like, you decided your party's going to venerate him and shit, like, they try to rewrite fucking history.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because at one point, yeah, he was your guy. Like, if you were a Second Amendment guy. But then after he got shot, he was no longer. So people still post like this. Like,
but he still did sell a lot of guns.
Sure.
I mean, to Iran.
So
but,
people
I mean, it was
people
cool.
post this shit, and I'm like, but 2 years later, he said that there's no reason for anyone to have like
Right.
you know.
And then you get the Brady bill gets pushed because Brady gets shot in the same accident or the same shooting. But everybody gets the caveat of, well, it wasn't really Reagan, it was Brady, and Clinton signed it into law. So they get the fall off, which is it's absolutely accurate. It was James Brady and his organization. It was Bill Clinton that signed it into law. By the time it made it through all the courts and the loopholes and the jumps, it took until 1991 to finally finalize the final legs of the Brady bill and get the full thing signed into law. I think Bush had some signings early, but it wasn't the completed bill. And we forget all of that. But it's because you like Team Blue and you like Team Red, and we've all bought into this weird duopoly that we have to venerate, we have to love, we have to follow.
We're both
this.
blue.
Yeah, well, yeah. I tried.
We're solidly in the blue.
I know. So and it puts me in that weird spot because I think essentially they all suck. They've all got high points.
Now I don't disagree
they all
with
suck.
you that they all suck.
And I can't.
And I hear what you're saying.
Go with suck.
Like you
Well,
know,
I could.
the lesser of two evils is still evil.
There's money involved.
If you got Tweedledum or Tweedledummer,
Yeah.
I mean, I had a hell of a time last time because I fucking did not care for Hillary Clinton one bit, and I thought Trump was an idiot, and like I was like, fuck, I'm just not gonna vote.
See, I don't have your fortitude when it comes to voting and shit, and that's one of the things.
But
when I think of third parties, I'm not gonna vote. Like I couldn't vote Green Party, I couldn't vote Libertarian and shit. To me, that shit, it's like learning to speak Klingon. I mean, it's probably not gonna come in handy. And at the end of the day, like, it's not fucking, it's like
One of
not
the
a real
things
thing.
brought up in that video. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, now that being said, like the further we get in, like as we have this conversation, shit, I'm like, I find myself over here thinking, you should listen to your libertarians sometimes.
So in that video, they were talking about like one of the major things that could be done on the local level is to institute runoff elections, and that is something that we've never done in this country.
Right.
But it and partially because we appear to like our two-party system for some reason. But the way a runoff election works is you get to vote for who you actually want to win.
Yeah, ranked choice.
And if that person can't win, then that vote gets thrown away and your second choice becomes your first choice, right? So if I want Mike Starry to be our president, I put in Mike Starry. Well, I'm probably the only one. Okay.
There might be two of you.
Two of us.
I'd vote for me.
Well, okay. So
No, I
he's
wouldn't.
got two.
It's kind of like that. I would never be a part of any organization that would have me as a member.
Instead of throwing my vote away, then Mike didn't get enough votes to whatever. He's no longer a candidate, and now Kyle Amundsen becomes the next president.
Well, I remember getting butt fucked by Ralph Nader. I mean,
yeah, I voted for Nader too. I know, or did you?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't think. I wouldn't think so. I mean, even back then, but I was a Nader Raider, and we got George Bush because of it. So
and then we went to Iraq.
Like clearly, like that's not debatable. I mean, that's not conspiracy theory. That's a conspiracy fact. Like, had Nader not run,
My only thing with Nader is I just never understood why the hell anybody was voting for him. I
I
just
like-
couldn't get the policy
was-
for him that made me go, okay, I get it.
I think it was the good guy factor again,
That
because
might be it.
he was as far as in there to fight for the common man and shit. Well, yeah, that's him. I mean, like as like a lifelong consumer advocate and shit, I think that turned people on, but not as much as having a shitload of money to throw at the fucking advertising and stuff turns people on.
But he still got a really big chunk of the vote.
Oh, he did. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was significant.
I mean, he was the most successful third party candidate. The only one that was more was
Ross Perot.
But now they've made it almost impossible for a third party candidate.
Yeah, well, and that was the Ross
and
Perot
they're
effect.
treating, the thing that pisses me off is like they're fucking treating Bernie, like him or hate him. So this is why I know that Bernie Sanders is not like beholden to the powers that be, because the powers that be are doing whatever the fuck they can to not
every
get,
fucking turn,
and it's like
every chance
Jesus,
they get.
like, well, maybe we could get the super delegates to fuck him over, you know?
After the 2016 elections, I said this, and I still stand by it. My biggest issue with Sanders, other than being a Marxist, is, in my opinion, he's a sellout. You have spent 30 years in Congress saying, I'm an independent, I'm a socialist, I do my thing, and then the second you need the money, you went to the Democrats. I firmly believe that Sanders could have run on his own and garnered probably more response, especially this election. After the last one where the Democrats did seem to screw him with their superdelegate BS, had he gone, I'm going to run again, but I ain't running as a Democrat because I'm still not a Democrat. I'm still a socialist. And I want to take on the system. I think his support would double from where he's at right now. You have a lot of people sitting back now going, dude, it's happening again. We knew this was going to happen.
I don't
again.
disagree with you.
It's
that he maybe. I actually felt like had he last election said, you know what, this is fucking ridiculous.
Yes.
I'm going to run anyway. I don't know that he'd have won the election.
Oh, he'd have made a huge impact,
But
though.
he would have gotten 25% of the vote.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
and then
but
we
he
would have
was
solidly.
Yes.
You know. Then it would have. Then
Trump
we
would have won the
blamed
actual popular
Trump.
vote.
But then we would have blamed Bernie for Trump.
Well, and
that would have been the thing.
And that's the nightmare we're always doing.
But it
that.
really partially was Bernie's fault that we got Trump, because so many people were disillusioned
and
after,
didn't vote.
Yeah, man. Yep. I voted for Hillary Clinton, and I almost
had to. What else were we going to do?
There's a support group for that.
I almost vomited when I walked.
Oh
out.
yeah,
I was so sick.
I want to take
I'm serious, but I was like,
we walk out of there feeling like we need to take a shower.
I
Meanwhile, people that voted for Trump are like, "Fuck yeah, woo!"
And they actually did need to take a shower.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, and
Just get the smell of their cousin off them.
Again, never picked a winner. I went with a third party. But
yeah.
It is. I get it. I talk to a lot of people that are in that boat all the time. Like, look, I want to get somebody that's going to prevent this person. I vote a third party because that third party should prevent both of them fuckers. The third party is the fresh sandwich, not the moldy sandwich. And we keep convincing ourselves we have to go with this, and we go, well, third party can't win. Well, 43% of Americans are registered independent. Right off the bat.
Right.
About 60% of us don't even vote, ever.
Right.
So if the 43% that are actually independent and the remaining bunch all went, I'm just kind of tired of being served shit sandwiches.
Hate this idea.
They could pick somebody.
What do you think about mandatory voting?
Just got to get those motherfuckers to speak Klingon.
It might work. Obviously, it's mandatory. It's a government mandated, so
Can't
it's
do
out
it.
the window for
Can't
me.
do it.
But
It's an interesting idea.
I think as a civic duty, though, and I don't think we teach that enough. I don't think, I know talking to my little ones that are in school now, they don't talk about the civic duty of voting.
No, civics class is like, you got this house.
Yeah.
This house.
So we've kind of screwed ourselves. No offense, libs, but you did kind of take over the educational system, and that was not where your bread was going to be buttered at.
Just because we're pro-education.
Well, and again, that's government was involved in education, so it gave you that leeway to get in there. But the civics thing wasn't
I'm not very pro-education.
wasn't where you wanted to go, so you didn't have to worry about that. You had other things in your mind. You were going to work on those. Great. But if we're not teaching civics, kids aren't coming out of school with, one, a foundational idea, foundational principles, and two, the understanding of how they're responsible for what happens in the government. Right now, we really do, and I see it in my older kids and my younger kids' generation. I see a lot of, well, the government needs to do this for us, and the government needs to do that. I didn't come out of school thinking government was supposed to do anything for me other than provide for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Provide the opportunity.
Yeah. That's
Right.
it. I mean, it's very simple. It's national defense and that sort of a thing.
That is something that, I mean, people get confused. Like, I have the right, to life, liberty, happiness. No, you don't. No, you have the right to pursue it.
That fucking entitlement thing with every generation just gets, and I mean, I don't mean to bag on young people. I know some fucking amazing kids, but, and it's also fucking important to remember that when we are bagging on young people, when we are talking shit about millennials and stuff like that, these motherfuckers didn't get there on their own. They didn't just hatch from a fucking egg and be like, hey, I'm fucking entitled little douchebag.
Well, and when we were
it's on us,
when we were young, we were fucking idiots too.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's fucking horrible, especially.
I don't know where he thinks he changed. Like, past tense, weird.
So we figured a couple of things out. That just means we're assholes for doing what we do, knowing what we know.
More better now.
So you were telling me before the podcast started that you spend a lot of time in the car, and and obviously that gives you like we were talking about podcasts being one of the greatest things ever. Mm-hmm. But you recently started listening to a book. What is it?
The Federalist Papers. It's literally the Federalist Papers in podcast, done by a sort of colonial sounding Brit. So it's very authentic to the era, and it's word for word as the Federalist Papers were being written.
I think that's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah. I've read the Federalist Papers. I carry them on my phone. I can do that kind of stuff at any time, but it is kind of neat when you're ripping down the highway to have some guy giving you what Hamilton was saying, It's like, oh, this is kind of cool.
I have a question.
I have an answer.
I have a feeling that I already know the answer to this question. Well, it's not a yes or no question, but so this is, and the reason I'm asking this is because I have some like half-formed ideas about this. I'm not 100% sure that I dislike the Electoral College, but it does seem an outdated and it seems like it runs contrary to what we should be about, so are you a fan of the Electoral College?
I am. I'm a big fan of it. So direct democracy, absolutely fantastic. Kind of like the idea of socialism, pretty all right on a really small scale.
Right.
Direct democracy, I'm sorry, I don't think the same as the people in California. And I lived in California. I lived in Santa Cruz. I got to live in the liberal hotbed. And I left there because I don't think the same way as them. Now, California has, 27 million people.
Right.
So the difference in the last election was all in California, literally. Right. When their final returns came in, that was where the popular vote changed. Up until that point, Trump actually had the popular vote. California returns came in, Hillary would have won. Okay, direct democracy, you go, that's neat, but I'm sorry, I don't think the same way as you. I do, however, think the same way as people in Minnesota. We all kind of have, especially up here, we have a lot of that same sort of mentality. Kind of like you guys to leave me alone. I'd kind of like just do my thing, and I kind of want to not be a dick to people. I'm good with that. We're all cool. So the Electoral College, I get direct democracy. I go and say, me and my other 5 million residents get together and go, we really like this cat. This one really represents us well. We like that. Win or lose, at least we've had our voice and said, this is the cat that we think. Mondale in 1980, whatever it was,
the
84.
only state that he won.
Yeah. Now, I wouldn't have voted for Mondale myself probably at the time, but I love the idea that a state went, look, man, this dude really represents us, whether it's just because he was of our heritage or we actually, I think Minnesotans really looked at Mondale like, that dude just represents us. He really does kind of speak our language, a Wellstonian sort of thing as well. So you keep the EC, you get your direct democracy here. I get to pick who my commissioners are, my county board. I get to pick who my legislators are. I have Dale Lewick over in my district in Crosby. He's my representative. Kerry Rudd's my senator. I picked them because they represented my views, which is fantastic. But on a national scale, the government's just supposed to go, look, here's what the 50 laboratories have done. Awesome. Right. So, and if the president wasn't a powerful man, like he shouldn't be, if he was just really a figurehead, wouldn't matter who won.
Right.
He should be so unimportant.
If there
that
wasn't an
matter.
Electoral College, literally California and New York would choose the president.
They would
we
be
could
the
just
final.
not vote at all.
Yeah.
So that's. But I don't know if I'm.
Now, ranked choice could get rid of that.
Ranked choice would make a huge difference. Yep. Also, I think you're right though. Like, it should hardly matter.
Can we roll that back? I want to hear that again.
You are. You're right about a lot of things.
I might watch that part a couple times.
I even feel like I may have changed my mind on the red flag laws. I don't know about the universal background check, but I could be convinced.
We can come back to that.
That whole red flag thing. That's
You cleared it
straight
up. I thought it was like, how the fuck would anybody not want that to be a thing?
Right.
Well, yeah, like this is
When you
this is why
read
we
what
need to
it's
have him on,
supposed
because-
to, what it's supposed to be, or like it says, like basically what I read was, if a family member or a member of law enforcement feels like somebody is going to be a direct harm to themselves or somebody else, they can petition the court, and then they can remove that person's ability to have a firearm. Okay, that sounds completely reasonable. Well, now when you lay it out, what the actual way that it actually works, it sounds far less reasonable.
Well, yeah, because I mean, like I started thinking about how little trust I have in the justice system, like right away, like after we met up Tuesday after we shot that last episode, and I was like, fuck. And I started thinking about it, and then I started asking questions on Facebook, and then I meant to do some reading.
Well, I read one article.
I do advise
Just
reading,
that one.
going on the Minnesota state websites and you can go to the registrar and get the actual law as they're presented right now. So
No, I
as
just
it
follow Mike
passed-
Starry on Facebook.
or you can follow me, but you might as well. Everybody else is at this moment. You can get the exact wording of the law, and in there, it's about 4 sections down. They have the list of people that can do a red flag, and then the list of reasons, and then the preponderance of evidence, and it's actually says it in the law, the preponderance of evidence. Well, yeah, okay. That's how you win civil cases, but not a criminal trial against the same person.
Right. That's how O.J. Simpson.
Exactly.
Like
preponderance of evidence.
Had to pay a big fine because he killed that chick, but they couldn't prove it.
And he got away with it, and then he robs places. Oh.
And now he's a big YouTube.
He got away with it because he's rich and famous, which
So-
is one of the reasons I don't trust our fucking judicial system.
I
Nothing
think
against police officers, but like that system, there's some fucking systemic failures in there. It's fucking
no
bad.
way. It's fine. I think
Nothing to see here. Move along.
I just wanted to get back
I
to
understand what you said about
Douchebag ball.
the man was a douchebag. I can't it's not debatable, it's not amendable, it doesn't
Fair enough.
require a majority vote. So just to get back to what you were saying about the election, I think you're right again, but it should matter very, very little who our president is.
Absolutely.
And I'm kind of maybe what an old school Republican, I think maybe like I'm a fiscal conservative, small government.
Before they became the bigots.
More of a Lincoln
Kinda.
Republican.
Yeah. Like I think we should have a small federal government.
Mm-hmm.
We should have strong state powers. We should but we should have a social safety net.
Mm-hmm.
But that should be but I agree it should be a local social safety net, or like statewide. And basically I just don't think that the government should be able to tell you what you should do with your body, what you should put in your body.
But what if corporations need the government to tell us that? I'm confused.
Sorry, Johnson and Johnson. You don't get to dictate what kind of powder I'm using on my testicles.
But I mean, a lot of people, and I'm kind of like a self-proclaimed liberal, and I'm definitely going to vote for Bernie Sanders, get nomination or not. I'm done.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm done. I'm sick and tired of fucking being fed Tweedledum and Tweedledum.
Right.
I can't fucking do it anymore. And I know my vote doesn't really give a count anyway. But even if it did, fuck it. Like,
If your conscience is clear after your vote, you're doing good. I walked away from every presidential election with a clear conscience. Like, look,
Yeah.
I know my guy's not going to win, but God damn it, I didn't sell my soul
Yeah.
because I had to beat the other. I don't give a shit about beating you.
I felt like I had to and honestly, I don't even think it makes any difference if we get 4 more years of Trump. If we 4 more years of Trump or a fucking Joe Biden,
Well-
it really makes no difference. It's going to be a fucking ridiculous.
and as long as you have
shit
a
show.
split Congress, you're good to go anyway. That's the checks and balances.
Well, see, that's one of the things that
So-
when people
Except
are
that
so
we
afraid of Bernie and shit.
continually give everybody we continually. This lies.
There we go.
This lies firmly in the lap of Obama. I mean, unfortunately, but he really extended the executive privileges, and like I was telling you about
And see,
beforehand,
he got backed into a fucking corner.
he did, but he didn't take the
And
high
he-
road.
Right.
He was
Yeah,
like,
he went with that fucking
he
nuclear
was like,
option.
all right, if I can't do it with you, then I'll just go through you. And that, even when the guy is my quarterback, right? I can't.
Like Trump saw that shit and was like, "Hold my beer."
Well, the thing is that even though I agreed with him, I agreed with his executive decisions.
The ends don't always
It set
justify the
that
means.
precedent for fucking.
You're telling me that you're gonna give that power to everybody who comes after you? What if a Cheeto gets elected? Cheeto got elected.
And that's one of the things about him being able to fucking, just like be so corrupt and do so much fucking, do so much dirt, but he's got Barr in his corner to fucking clean up after him and shit. Like that sort of thing. Like this shit, like precedent, it fucking matters. Like these things, like why should we be bothered by the president using the office to fucking for his own fucking like for his own political gain? Oh well, just because you agree with it, just because you're okay with it doesn't make it all right. Like and that'll all come out in the wash. Maybe it won't happen with fucking Bernie because I don't know, or maybe it doesn't happen for fucking 20 years, but.
I got a kick out of a meme about Bernie doesn't golf, so that saves like almost enough to pay for Medicare for all.
Now Bernie gets into there, he's going to have I don't think you've got the AOCs and there's a couple of people in the House, but I think most of them are not true believers.
Right.
So he's going to get a whole lot of nowhere. He's going to end up.
But he's got 71% of America that wants Medicare for all.
Maybe.
71%. It's a pretty solid stat.
But
so
look at Jesse Ventura, who had great ideas that even now we all look back and go, fuck, the guy was kind of all right on a lot of this shit.
Yeah.
He didn't get anywhere because we had a split house that fought him, and I can see that happening with Bernie.
That's true.
Being in a really tough spot on a lot of his ideas.
But the problem, and I did really like Ventura, but he did not use the bully pulpit articulately.
Right.
He used it like a WWE wrestler, okay? Which resonates with Minnesotans, but only to a point.
Right.
I loved when his aide got fucking busted for giving a Hummer in the bathroom, and he's at the fucking press conference, and the press is asking him, for a press conference for whatever. And they're like, so about your aide, and he's like, okay, I'm going to say this once. All right. He's my friend. He's a very good aide, and I will not be answering any questions about him.
Mm-hmm.
Refreshing.
Next question.
Yeah.
Same thing. He said, this press conference is over, and walks away. I was like, and then he did this.
Ripped his shirt off.
But yeah. So I think that if Bernie were to get elected, a lot of people are like, oh my God, he wants to enact all this crazy shit. What? And you're saying, well, there is the safety net called the House and Senate.
Yeah.
I think that is true. But I also think that if Bernie were to get in and he were to be able to use the bully pulpit effectively, and I think he's a great speaker.
He's sure
pretty great speaker.
Not what we're accustomed to. I like to listen to him just because he sounds kind of funny, which is one of the reasons people like fucking Trump.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
Well, the thing is he's also he's very, very articulate. When he did his interview with Joe Rogan, he was super articulate. Whatever.
Yeah,
so when he's not having to yell.
Yeah.
At like rallies or in debates, I just think it's great that he's in a debate though and he's yelling.
He just, listening to him talk, I'm like, is his speechwriter the Curb Your Enthusiasm?
I don't think he has
guy?
a fucking speechwriter. I mean, I'm sure he does, but I mean, this is I don't know. But I think that if he can use that bully pulpit, I really think that this is the first time where there really is the will, political will in this country to actually enact a national health care. Now, whether you agree with it or not, I do think that I think that the numbers can bear out. And if you can't, at least we have to admit that our current healthcare system
would have to
is
look
just
very broken,
fucked.
A little bit like the gun control thing. So immediately after the Parkland shooting, as with every other shooting, Columbine, Sandy Hook, all of the other major school shootings, the political will has always been there.
I don't think that's true.
To do something.
After those shootings, something like 75. There's some statistic here I wrote down somewhere.
I knew I'd get to it eventually.
Oh no, I skipped it. I just all I have is Trump tweets. But after
That's all you'll ever need.
after a school shooting, more local gun control laws get passed.
Yes.
But they're like 75% like on your side.
Right. Well, but I think so. There's the thing, though. The initial polling always comes out, and they go, "Yes, we need to do this," and then you get the guys that just double down. They're just now you're gonna fight, and I get it to a certain degree sometimes, and I've said this about the Senate in Minnesota. Right now, everybody says gun control is not going to pass in Minnesota because the Senate's going to shoot it down, and I go, for me, that's great, wonderful. As a constitutionalist,
Do they say
wonderful.
no pun intended afterwards?
They should. They should. That would have been good. So
I like that.
The thing is, if you were a principled person, which our Senate actually is in the state of Minnesota, our senators here are pretty damn principled. There's a problem with that because now if 51% of their constituents really want them to pass gun control, the principled ones will go, look, the majority of my constituents want this. So now they're left with two options. Either do what their constituency says, or they stand on their own principles and they abstain from the vote. Well, if you only have a couple of people holding majority and those two or three abstain from the vote passes because they stayed away from it on principle. So nothing's ever really set. So I could see that happening immediately after the gun control argument on a national scale that you go, well, we can hold it back right now, but there's going to come a time where you're going to have to, and this is again, not voting shit sandwiches, vote on principle. Because if you stand on principle, then your representative will stand on principle because you're going to hold him accountable. You're not just going to go, I want you to do this. Yay, you said you're pro-NRA. Go for it. And then when they don't do it, you go, yeah, well, everybody lies. Well, no, fucking hold them accountable.
Well, yeah.
Go in there and throw their asses out. Do what they need to do.
The idea of that's acceptable, that all of our politicians are liars, is unacceptable.
Yeah, exactly. And they shouldn't ever be. So we have to hold them accountable on a county level, a city level, a state level, federally, and we're not. Congress has what, a 3 to 13% approval rating in Washington, D.C.?
Right, yeah. It's
but
ridiculous.
95% reelection rate.
Yeah, right.
Well, you guys all suck. Fuck, I'll vote for you again anyway.
Or I just won't
have some
vote,
fucking principles.
And my 20%. Yeah, that sucks.
And we do that in the presidential elections. You end up really 22 to 24% of America's voting population picks your president because so many people abstain. They just go, well, look, I can't vote for Tweedledum and I can't vote for Tweedledee. Fuck it, I'm staying home. And then they bitch, well, I'm not getting represented. Well, because the third party couldn't win. Well, why couldn't they win? Well, because nobody voted for him. Did you vote? Well, no, because the third party couldn't win. Because I wouldn't vote for him.
It's a solid point.
And we just keep running that circle around, bitching that Trump sucks and that Hillary sucks.
But if we were to get runoff elections, which is something that
could happen,
we can do at a countywide level.
Yeah, buddy.
And if you were to do that, all of a sudden that argument goes away.
Yeah.
Also, I'm all in favor of mandatory voting. I mean, I think it's like I think it's your civic responsibility.
Right.
So, you got to do it. There's no choice. Now, when you say that, I'm like, God, I know so many fucking stupid people.
Right.
Like, do I really want them voting? But you know what? Most of those are the fuckers that vote. So I want my.
You're already screwed.
I want my smart, lazy friends to vote.
Yep.
They were almost the popular vote in the last election.
Right. All right. We got to wrap this up, right?
Well played.
Yeah, it's getting time, and I'm floating, so we either need to take a break or wrap this up, but we should probably wrap it up. It's getting to be that time.
Oh, it is about that time.
Yeah.
Because it's we're on Sunday nights. These come out Sunday night, early Monday morning. Today is actually the third voting day and the 24th birthday of my oldest, Gordy.
So happy birthday, Gardy. Mm-hmm. Mike, I love you. It's always an awesome to talk to you, even though we don't get to do it as often as we should.
Man,
though now it's not, and I know you're fucking busy. I know you're busy, but now.
Yeah, I feel like we have unfinished business. Now, we should schedule.
You're our resident expert.
He's our resident libertarian.
Whenever you're, the
only one we can tolerate.
The one that, I like libertarians.
I'll take that.
Just not the actual people. Just the concept.
I will say small L. No party affiliation, but I lean on the small L libertarian a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know what that means.
It means that I'm not a party guy because the party still has a line and I don't toe it. So.
Interesting. So I was at Fleet Farm the other day and they have like a fucking Colt 45 BB gun.
Nice.
And it's like has the action and
Yeah.
everything, and you have 45 bullets that you put the BB in the thing in the
like
thing.
this.
And I was like, I'm gonna buy that fucking thing, and I'm gonna have a shoot off with Mike Starry and Kyle Odvinson on the podcast. And then I looked at the price.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, I can buy a real gun for that.
Can't shoot a real gun in your basement though. So, you know,
Solid
it's
point.
A little tougher in the studio.
But so maybe next time.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I was like, this thing is fuck cool.
That is cool.
What the fuck you want for that? Holy yeah. But anyway, that said, it's always a pleasure,
Thank you.
and people always like, and we are kind of an echo chamber, and we are a couple of like Libby idiots that like to like sit and like stroke each other's wee-wees.
Fair enough.
But
Can't blame you.
but I
Nice
enjoy
wiener. Wee-wee.
talking to people that I don't necessarily line up with,
Right.
and have an intelligent and interesting conversation. And like in this here, I came into it kind of having like beliefs about the red flag laws and the universal background checks. I come away from it feeling completely differently about it. So that's good. That's
Good.
And people are like, oh, you listened to one asshole talk for a couple of hours and it changed your mind.
Well,
Talking to you, Craig.
it's listening to people talk and like hearing the opinions of people whose opinions you value.
Does make a difference.
I mean, like we can all go on fucking Facebook and and just weed through the opinions, and like,
That was what we did last week.
Not every opinion is created fucking equally,
Right.
And
It's important to have informed.
Yeah.
I mean, and obviously you're listening to the fucking Federalist papers.
And you have to have Jeffersonian principles. Thomas Jefferson was pretty clear. Fix reason firmly in her seat. I don't give a shit about your emotional take on things. I don't care about my emotional take on things. What I care about are facts. Due process matters. Facts matter. Reality matters. Everybody has a study. Everybody's got something to back up and give them their cheerleading section. So then you have to fix reason firmly in her seat and really analyze it and look at things and go, man, is this truly the reasonable way? Is this the American way? Is this an originalist way? Is this what we intended to get to? Or are we comfortable with the police state sort of thing? Where do you want to be? If you use reason, you're going to get there either way. Maybe your idea is the most reasonable, but if I'm not using reason, I can't hear your reason.
Right. God, that's really important because that's a lot of times I feel like that's what it is. You say something, this reasonable statement backed up by this reasonable fact, and then my brother says, yeah, but then he's just going to take all of our guns. Wait a second. What?
All I
Everything's
know
nuanced.
is found in a democracy and fucking black chicks. Thomas Jefferson.
Dig it. Thomas Jefferson's brother. We should have that conversation sometime.
It's actually that fucking the John Voight character from that show that we were talking about. No, I can't think of the name of the show. Ray Donovan.
Oh, yeah.
The Mickey Donovan
Oh,
quote.
yeah.
That's where I jacked up
you
that
looked
quote.
at that. All right, sounds good. Well, thank you again, Mike.
Thank you.
And good luck on your
And
cause.
you.
I might actually
Thank you.
vote. Maybe. All right. I don't know.
Stay
I don't know
informed.
who Kyle voted for, but all right.
No way of knowing.
we will see you guys next week. Thanks. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into the podcast. Man, that was sure fun sitting down with Mike. We're definitely going to have that cat back. So I'm releasing this episode early this week, and the reason for that is this Friday at the Roundhouse Brewery, there is a event coming up for a good friend of mine. It's a benefit for a lady named Carol Pashelke. And Carol is an amazing woman who has worked for the Salvation Army for many, many years, and she just absolutely has a heart of gold. And Carol needs your help. She is recovering from spinal fusion surgery, and man, we need some universal health care because she's short and unfortunately, she needs to ask for your help to try to make this work. So, if you can, please join me at the Roundhouse Brewery this Friday, March 6th, from 5 to 7. Roundhouse is doing a silent auction. There's going to be a taco bar, a bunch of stuff, and we need to raise some money for Carol. It is a sad state of affairs that the only way somebody can possibly pay for their medical bills is to have a fucking benefit. It just makes me sick. Anyway, I really hope you can join me. And then afterward at 7 o'clock, my good friend Drew Peterson, he's been on the show. He's a fantastic musician. He's going to be playing at 7 o'clock. So to take you out one more time, here's an old Drew Peterson song. It's called Jesus Loves My Shotgun. I think you'll get a kick out of it. See you next week.